All right, hello again to pause. All right, just take a moment, relax. It's not what it looks like. I'm not really the tier list video type of person. This isn't what you think it is, completely, or it might be. We'll see. What's up? What's cracking? My name is Kraken Atkins. Yeah, recently the boy, the homie, BoJack, put out a video that I should probably have up. Yeah, recently the boy, the homie BoJack, put out a video who is the best character in BBTAG. BBTAG regional tier list. So BoJack went around and collected tier list data from all parts of the world. You can see who was outlined there: Asia, EU, North America, and the world. And yeah, basically this is a different type of tier list system. So what the participants were given was like all characters in BBTAG, ranked them on 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, and where you think their skill level correlates to. And then BoJack averaged out the data for each region to create the tier list that they posted on Twitter. That post is right over here. And just kind of did a video overviewing the differences between regions and everything. So the purpose of this video is that I actually contributed some data for North America of my own personal opinion. So I wanted to go through some of the numbers that I picked, kind of compare and contrast it to other regions, just kind of give my overall thoughts and ideologies, but definitely with a disclaimer of like, this isn't my tier list because just given the type of structure that this format entails, it isn't really giving a clear picture of like, yeah, if I say that the character is like a 1, am I saying that the character is F tier? Not exactly. I don't think there's like an F tier in this game. I'm just saying like when it comes to the scope of the spectrum of like making a tier list, there has to be a character that is the best and there has to be a character that is the worst. But I'm not saying that the worst is like F. I'm just saying that they're the worst. That they're the worst. It is what it is. Do I have any interest in making an actual tier list? No. But BoJack has somehow found a format that is interesting and like engaging enough to want me to make a video like this. So I'm gonna rock and roll with it. We'll see what we get. Also shout outs to BoJack for sending me my results. I was foolish, like I filled out the survey and did not like save my results. So I had to hit up BoJack for my results and he was able to send them over to me, which is going to allow for me to make this video. So if you haven't seen his video already, watch his first and then come back to this one and then we can talk about what my personal thoughts are. We'll go in the order that is listed on Tier Maker, which means we would be starting with Adachi first. So I listed Adachi as a 5. I mean, I don't think that's really a big surprise there. Based off the metric given here, S tier characters are like between a 5 and a 4.0, and I think Adachi is in S tier for every single region, right? Adachi top 2 within Adachi top 2 within Asia, Adachi top 2 within EU, Adachi top 1 in North America, and Adachi top 1 in the world. I mean, what truly is there to say about Adachi at this point? I mean, ever since like 2.0 has came out, has been one of the truly strong, dominant, meta-defining characters, and I think that's carried out worldwide. Definitely capable of enabling a ton of characters, doing some pretty good damage on his end as well, and really not surprising to see that multiple people worldwide consider him to be one of the best characters in the game. Now, is he perfect? Of course not. Like, no. I mean, Asia might differ in this opinion when we talk about Hilda, but in my opinion, there's like no character in the game that's like too overbearing or there's just like perfect or has like a complete grasp or grip on the meta to where it's just like they are not able to be outplayed. I mean, even if you look at Adachi's tournament history, really has not had too much of an oppressive hold within the top 8 structure of some of the majors that we've been able to run, right? As we're talking about like CEO Taku or like CEO, Frosty Faustings, Combo Breaker even, like Adachi has not been like present within an overbearing amount on those tournaments. So strong character. There's like really no denying that Adachi is like extremely strong within today's meta, and I really like I said, the strength shows. Like he has nothing lesser than a top 2 placing worldwide. And these are ordered, by the way, based off the number of averages that were given to the character. So really not too much insight that I want to put there for Adachi. The next character though is probably going to have a little bit of interesting discourse about it. It is Aegis. So I personally ranked Aegis as a 4. Aegis is a character that I was really interested to see where North America puts her, because I feel like she's pretty undervalued here. Like Aegis is one of those characters that in North America, I think everybody like knows that she's strong. We've seen what she's been capable of doing through like multiple players at this point, mostly outside of US. I think the big moment for Aegis was watching Cax play against North American players, specifically that set that they had against Tempest a couple of years ago, and just being like, man, Aegis is kind of dumb. But not many have really kind of like acted upon it. I mean, we have Reich, who is pretty much like our main Aegis person here in North America, and a couple of other players here and there that also play Aegis, but the representation is just like not really there. So it really wasn't too surprising to me to see on the North American list that Aegis was like placed within the A tier, the upper part of A tier, but that's saying that Aegis averaged like a score of a 3. Or like within that 3 range, not like definitively a 4. A couple of people might have voted Aegis as 4 in North America, but yeah, I think the character is definitely a little bit undervalued here in the States. I mean, if you look at other parts of the world, this is the Asia list. Asia has Aegis in the top 10, the C3, 6. Yeah, Aegis is like top 10 character for like Asia. Within EU, top 3, which it kind of makes sense. Cax is from EU, so like that's perfectly sound reasoning to me. And in the world, Aegis is in the S tier, not within the top 10, but definitively within the top 15, averaging with a score of 4. So this is kind of a result that I expected with North America having her the lowest. I do think it would be beneficial to have more Aegis representation here. This character is like super cheap. Like I've always known that this character could be super cheap. I've faced Reich in a couple of casual sets. I don't think we've actually played in tournament. But the big exposure to the character in tournament for me was actually at Heaven or Hell. I played like, I don't know, maybe like 100 games with Maya, and Maya's like main team is Aegis Adachi, and in the beginning I was kind of getting smoked. Like they're just like through our casual sets, like me initially playing against Maya, I was like definitely getting smoked when it came to the Aegis Adachi comp that he was implementing, and it was just really just a matter of like unfamiliarity with the matchup. And not really having a great idea of how I wanted to counterplay it. Now, as we started playing more, I definitely got a more solid grip to where we're going a little bit more back and forth. There were even like some periods where I think I had the better end in some of our casual sets, and was just really had gotten comfortable within the Aegis matchup. Of course, as it went to the actual tournament set that we played, Maya was able to take it, and yeah, Maya just played that set like insanely well, and like really I was impressed with the result that he was able to manage, given how much strides I was able to make in the matchup from us playing all weekend. But yeah, it was really just like that kind of experience that I had in Brazil playing in Heaven or Hell, playing that many sets against Maya, where I was just like, yeah, I've always thought that Aegis was undervalued, but like playing that many sets with somebody that's been committing that much time to Aegis, I'm just like, yeah, Aegis is like really cheap. But I think the reason why North America probably has Aegis undervalued is too much of an emphasis on how much she needs to be enabled. And too much of an emphasis on, like, I think North America probably finds her assist kit lacking. Like, you can't really harp on her damage. Her damage is absolutely insane, especially if you have the Orgia stacks to spend on the dash cancels and everything, and then Megiddo fire loops and all that stuff. We're definitely aware of her damage potential. She has North America damage, but when it comes to like a North America mindset of like assist and like how much work it takes to enable the character and all that, I think that's why she's a little bit undervalued. So it's just a different mindset here. But I think the character is quite strong, if you ask me. Okay, next character is Akatsuki. who I placed as a 4. Akatsuki is, I feel like the viewpoint of this character has been in the beginning that he's just like, I think everybody's always found that he's like kind of like a fun character, but almost like in the early stages of 2.0, a little bit of like a gimmick of just like, oh, woohoo, like he has this like unblockable that he can do, and there's like you know, mix-ups around that between push block, and he does a ton of damage, especially solo resonance. He can get like a ton of damage even then, but I don't feel like too much emphasis was placed on the character until more recently, and I think a big aspect of it has been yeah, he has those core tools, but also the parry is extremely significant against some type of like oppressive characters within the game. I mean, having that as an option to nullify some screen control tactics, some unblockable tactics, and just really have that in your back pocket as a defensive maneuver that can nullify so much is so good. And then the character kit itself just plays BBTAG extremely well. Like Tatsu is like a magnificent tool to cover some space. It does set up the unblockables. Fireball game is good. Buttons are decent. Assist kit is like extremely good. He's just like a really solid character. So solid that like if you guys saw YoFave Scrub's tier list recently, he actually had Akatsuki placed within the top 5, if I'm not mistaken. Which I don't think is too far-fetched. Personally, I don't think I would place that if I were making like an actual tier list, but I can understand how he comes to that reasoning. This character is extremely strong. In comparison to the world, Asia has Akatsuki actually within the A setting, so averaging within like a 3.0 to 3.9 territory, and kind of like within the middle, so we can guesstimate that Akatsuki probably has like a 3.7 3.6 rating there. EU has Akatsuki like pretty much exactly in the same spot. North America, I think, of course, highly values Akatsuki quite a bit more. I mean, we have like so many strong players that use Akatsuki. Again, I think I mentioned Caterade has been like somebody that uses Akatsuki, but like Scrub has Akatsuki as a side character, and we've been able to see what this character is able to do, and we think that he's quite strong in implementing his game plan, but also having counterplay to what's strong in the game. So that's why he's placed so strong over here. And then for the world, they have Akatsuki. Where is he? Oh, it's kind of like averaged out between EU, Asia, and North America's opinion. So it's like right at the top of A, inching towards that S tier. So I definitely kind of align with the North American opinion of course, being in North America. And just like seeing what the character is capable of and like what he's able to do. I think the potential is there for everybody to come to grips with Scrub's opinion of him being a top 5 character. It's just going to be a matter of seeing how the meta shapes out over time, and to see if Akatsuki does have that consistency factor to challenge the best of the best and rise on top. And I think another aspect of it would be how Akatsuki performs in an international setting, because like Caterade is like our leading Akatsuki player, but we haven't really seen him. Like he was at CEO, but he wasn't a CEO Otaku, so we didn't really get to see how he stacks up against some of like the Asian player base, and really it's kind of been all local that we've been, or local in North America that we've seen Akatsuki perform. But without a doubt, no matter which way you slice it, extremely strong character. Then we move over to Akihiko, who I placed as a 4. Akihiko has been playing like a very consistent game throughout the entirety of his run in BBTAG, right? He's always had the extremely solid win condition of just being able to dish out massive amounts of damage, pretty decent ground control, not too bad air control as well. That JA is extremely fast. And yeah, it's really like one of the more consistent characters throughout BBTAG's lifespan. Didn't place him as a 5. I think he's sort of like a legacy pick at this time, and with how the meta has been shaping out. I'm not saying that he doesn't have a place within it, I just don't think he's necessarily defining it. I'll probably touch on this a little bit more when we get to the Mitsuru placement as well, but yeah, Akihiko is just like extremely solid. I think he plays with like the top tier characters pretty well. He has some pretty good synergies with some of those characters within the 5 tier too. So yeah, you just can't really go wrong with Akihiko. Asia seems to actually value him a bit more than me, as they have him placed in the S tier, which I don't think is too far-fetched at all, right? Like, if you gave Akihiko a 5 placement, it makes sense to me. I think the struggle that I would have with giving Akihiko a 5 placement is that him and Chie share a lot of similarities in what their win condition is. And I think Chie just offers a little bit more in getting that win condition going, and is just overall a little bit more solid of a character. But that's not to undervalue Akihiko. I just think Chie is a little bit more valuable as a pick when it comes to that win condition, like melting a life bar. EU has Akihiko just like right at the cusp. If I were ordering my list, I would probably have Akihiko pretty high up within like the 4 tier, so that makes sense to me. North America also has Akihiko within the S, so there was the majority of people most likely that voted Akihiko as an S character, or a 5-point character, which again I don't necessarily disagree with. I just personally had him at 4. And then World also has him like right at the bottom of S. So yeah, pretty split within like the majority of opinion. You know, some people have him at 5, some people have him at 4. I just fall on the side of having him at 4, but I think he's extremely capable, extremely solid, kind of like timeless character pick. Akihiko's very good. All right, and then we move on to Azrael. I saw Azrael completely like run amok in casuals via Neo Gransan. Kind of seeing him play against like some North America's best and some of the terror that he was able to cause on the North American player base. With that being said, I did place Azrael as a 3. Terrifying character, honestly, to fight. In terms of just like the easy sandwich situations that he's able to create, his damage output, just his overall like I feel like every time that I've like fought Azrael, I see Azrael on the other side of the screen, I'm just like, okay, he's like slow, right? I can like just keep him at bay. I just try to make sure that he's not able to play the game, and keep him locked down, whatever it may be, and kind of abuse the lack of run that he has, and he has to like rely on dash and walking. But it just like never really quite works out that way. Like in the form of like a Growler has of course great counterplay when it comes to a projectile based game. Yeah, I think it's just a character that with the right comp is able to impose his will extremely well. And in the hands of extremely skilled players, even when it comes to a more solo-centric gameplay, in the 1v1 game especially, I think Azrael can make it happen so long as not being paired against like an insanely bad matchup. I think Azrael's solid. I wouldn't put him as solid as like the characters that I have in the 4 tier, but definitely not within the 2 or 1 tier. Azrael's extremely capable. In comparison to everyone else, Azrael in Asia, where is he? Azrael is pretty high up within the A territory, meaning that he averages between a 3 and 3.9, a little bit in the high 3s, so there was definitely some people within Asia that chose him as a 4. Makes sense. Gransan is like an absolute terror, so I can see that opinion being skewed a bit. I don't remember where everybody else had Azrael placed within the context of the world, but I imagine he's going to be comparatively lower. So in EU, yeah, Azrael is like a little bit more in the bottom of the bunch of the A tier, so a little bit less people voted him as a 4. More people voted as him being a 3. In North America, even lower, which isn't too surprising. We do have some Azrael representation here. Of course, BoJack the God, the one who got this tier list concept together in the first place, doing a ton of work with the Azrael throughout the years. Oh, we also have Sprite Cranberry, who plays like Ragna Azrael, if I'm not mistaken, who's been they're definitely on the stylish side of things. They try to get some stylish combos going on there, but they've had some pretty prominent tournament sets within the net play realm as of late. But yeah, our Azrael representation is not the highest. We don't have like a ton of Azrael players, so yeah, I think that's why our Azrael placement is a little bit lower. My opinion of having him at a 3, I think aligns a little bit more with just like the overall NA opinion. And then in the world, kind of matches the EU opinion, though. Yeah, he's almost like in the exact same spot. But yeah, I think in earlier stages, before I was introduced to great Azrael players, because I even played a couple of tournament sets and casual sets with BoJack. We played a little bit more at the last CEO of CEO 2021. And then, of course, seeing Goran-san play at CEO Taku this year as well. I think if you had asked me my opinion on Azrael in like early 2021, there could be potential that I would rate him as like a 2. But that would just be due to like lack of exposure. I think this character is extremely capable and solid. That leads us over to Blake. Blake is kind of a wild card because her player base is super low, maybe lower than Azrael if you really think about it, or at least that's just like my biased North American scope. We do not have a lot of Blake players. I can really only name one in the form of Eon, and I don't even think Eon's really been playing a lot recently, but I have her at 3. I think Blake is super solid. There's parts of Blake's kit that I think is pretty exemplary on her part in terms of like how she's able to create sandwich situations pretty seamlessly. Her 5P crosses up, which I think is super significant. She does have some pretty cheeky and sneaky tools that she's had forever in terms of like the shadow clone and some of the really hard to see mix-ups that she's able to create off of that. Yeah, she's an extremely capable character. I think there's potential for her in being a significant counterpick character with just some like the screen control and disjoint pressure that she's able to create that may be a little bit undervalued within the grand scheme of things. But not enough to put her within the 4 category. I don't think that the character is awful. She definitely doesn't belong in the 2 or 1 category. I just think that she's very comfortably in 3. And even with some of the untapped potential, I don't know if it would be enough for me to swing her within 4 or enough for me to swing her with 2. I just think she's a very comfortable 3. Asia has her within like the 3.5. Actually, that's a little bit less than 3.5, more within like a 3.3, 3.2 territory. So a lot of people over there voted like 3. EU has Blake a little bit lower, so a little bit more averaged out within 3. North America has her a little bit higher, so that means that like there were some people that definitely voted her as a 4, which is interesting. I don't know. The type of character that Blake is, although she has like mobility on her side, I don't know if she's a very North American style character. She does play extremely fast, and she is able to set up some pretty like messy stuff. But I'm actually surprised that North America has her higher than some of the other regions. I would have expected her to be a little bit lower within the A tier. And then the world has Blake a little bit lower than middle of the A column. So yeah, Blake's been around in the game for quite some time. She's always kind of been like teetering within like this mid-tier setting, but just given the specialist type of character that she is, with her mobility, with her mix-ups, and with everything, she's super capable within the meta. Next up, we have the tank. When this character was like announced, and when I first like tried this character and saw this character, like again, if you ask like the opinion of me, BBTAG circa like January 2020, I probably said that this tank is like a 1. But that's just not true. Like there are definitely, and let me just like not get too ahead of myself. I have Blitztank placed as a 3. There are obviously shortcomings to Blitztank's kit. His hurtbox is huge, which just kind of makes it significantly challenging for him to navigate at times. He's susceptible to tank specific combos that could do quite a bit more damage. Mix-ups I think are extremely hard for him to block and escape because he is so big. And then also the mobility factor of him, just, I mean, he's a tank, he just rolls, and then he has like a dash that he's able to do. And then like he's also kind of limited in the vertical movement department as well, with not having like a double jump or anything. But the thing about this character is that he is kind of hyper specialized, hyper focused in a hyperbolic sort of way on his zoning. Like he is just like really like from the ground up built to be a tank, like a zoning character that specializes in projectiles and keep away and screen control. And the way in which they developed this character for the game, I think is like perfect. You know, the armor potential of his normals definitely make you have to think of how you're going to construct offense around him. The screen control that he is able to implement is fantastic. Not only that, he's able to get massive payout in some certain sequences because his beam super is so fast, getting some combos off of those stray lasers. He really hurts. His damage is like extremely high. So although he is a specialized and pretty, I almost want to say linear character in terms of like how he approaches a match, what he does for what it is extremely competent. So for that reason alone, despite some of the obvious shortcomings that he may have with him being such a like hyperbolic type of character, it's still effective enough for him to be placed solid within the 3 tier in my opinion. Asia does not seem to agree. They have Tank within the B tier, meaning that Tank averaged between like 2.0 and 2.9. EU also seems to disagree, as they have Tank value significantly lower within the 2 category. NA also seems to disagree, as they have them within like the high 2s. But that's what like the kind of big difference is like Asia and EU have them in the low 2s, which means there's like a majority of people that like tended towards like the 2 category, whereas NA has some more in the high 2s, which means there's actually a good amount of people that did value Blitztank as that 3 pick alongside me. It's just there's some people that also like put 2, but for some of the reasons as to North America valuing Akatsuki so high, I mean, Blitztank does also have that Akatsuki Blitzkampf parry, although his functions a little bit differently if I'm not mistaken. Him having that capability alongside the screen control, alongside the armor, I think North America, since we do value Akatsuki high, Blitztank having that property, we value him a little bit higher as well. I can see some correlation there. And then within the world, they also have Blitztank low. So like Blitztank's actually, it may not look like it when you're just looking at the list with Blitztank being placed in B tier all around. But there's definitely a difference between a high B and a low B here, right? Because if you just look at the breakdown of score, if they're a low B, that means they're closer to like a 2.0 score, meaning that like there was like a significant majority of people that voted Tank as a 2. Whereas if they're like within the high B territory, I mean like Tank is like within the top 3 of the B tier. That means that the score was closer to like a 2.9, 2.8, 2.7 type of territory, which means that there was like quite a few people that actually voted for Tank to be 3. So yeah, Tank, a very interesting character. I think he is also a specialist type of pick. 3 is almost like the specialist tier. Like Azrael, Blake, Blitztank, they all kind of share the same characteristic that none of them have too much of a impactful grip on the meta per se, but you know, if you just really enjoy those characters and you want to like grind those characters out and make it work, you can really make those characters shine, and they're more than capable of being consistent enough to get the job done at the end of the day. Man, I know this list looks weird so far. I'm like, man, did he place any 2s? Did he place any 1s? Did he place any 5s? Trust me, there are more. In fact, this next character we have is going to be within the 5 tier, because the next character is Carmine, who I placed as a 5. Yeah, Carmine is also a character who's been pretty consistent throughout the entirety of TAG as a very relevant character within the North American meta. I think with the further exploration of the Carmine Yang and the Carmine Mika comps of setting up those unblockable loop scenarios, that is definitely a type of team that North America is going to value greatly. And so we have been able to see the exploration of that team through players like Razo, Tempest in the past, and I think actually YoFace Scrub, as of recording this video, has been playing this team a little bit lately as well. So Carmine Yang, that is. So but even like outside of the scope of those teams that we know are strong, we've seen Carmine do work with a variety of different characters. I mean, you have Not Jerry with Carmine Hazama. Scrub has also played Carmine Hakumen in the past. Carmine is just a really flexible character who fits on a lot of different types of teams, and his kit as well is fantastic when it comes to damage output. Just in the scope of like overall lockdown and like damage output, you really can't go wrong with Carmine, but I can also see how this could be a very North American style character, and that kind of shows up within some of these lists. So Carmine within Asia was actually valued within the A category, which means he averaged out to like 3 pick for the most part, with a couple of people valuing him as 4. Granted, he's a high A, so like there definitely was a significant amount of people that valued him as 4, but did not crack that S tier. This is EU, who has Carmine in the low S. So a little bit more aligned with the North American opinion. North America obviously has extremely higher because Carmine is just one of our meta-defining characters, has been for quite some time. And then the world always like averages out, which is funny. They're always like right between like NA and EU, or like NA and Asia opinion, but a little bit like rounding out within like the low S tier. Yeah, I mean, Carmine is just like a character who just hasn't aged. He's also like a character that I want to call timeless, similar to like Akihiko. He has an extremely stable game plan and extremely stable kit. It's not just like the unblockable loop win condition that he has available to him. He has like a lot of different variety of teams that he can be placed on that give him a ton of different types of approaches. He's just like that flexible of like a support type of character, which is pretty beneficial in the scope of like the NA meta from what I've seen. All right, next up we have Celica. Yeah, I guess we're going to be getting to some characters that could place within the 2 and 1 tier finally, so it doesn't look like that I'm just like saying that every character is mid. Celica I placed as a 2. I placed as a 2. So within all the lists, Celica is placed as mid B in Asia. She's placed as low B in EU. She's actually placed as like high C in America, and placed as like a low B in the world. I placed Celica as a 2 because, okay, Celica obviously has some shortcomings within her kit. One of the biggest glaring issues is that the character was very obviously balanced around her enhanced state of a lot of her routes are locked behind her having no unrecoverable health and being able to utilize the 214A to get combo extensions and just overall getting a little bit more solid average damage. But it's just very obviously a design flaw that like more often than not you're not in that enhanced state because of the tag game. Assists are getting tagged all around, assists are getting punished. You just have to take like a little bit of chip, and then just like all of a sudden you're not in your enhanced state. You don't have access to those combos, and for the majority of an average BBTAG match, you're going to be playing in that unenhanced state where you're quite weaker. So that compounded with the fact that her assist kit is like not the best. She has the 4P heal that is actually like probably not as good as Yukiko's because it doesn't have a hitbox attached to it. She has like a decent serviceable 5P and then like a decent serviceable 6P that causes for the wall bounce, but it's definitely a below average assist kit. So those are kind of like her shortcomings as a character. But the reason that I place her as a 2 and not as a 1 is because like I think everything else she has at her disposal, just like her core loadout, is not too bad. Like her anti-air potential in the form of her DP and her 5B is pretty good. 5B is like an extremely nice normal. She has her JC dive, which can create some sandwich situations. You could almost use it like the Hilda surfboard so long as you have the assist potential following it up, so she can create some sandwiches. Through the 5BB as well, that can create some sandwiches. What she offers at her core I don't think is underwhelming enough in order for me to want to place her within the 1 category. I'm not saying that like Celica is secretly OD or anything. Like the character very obviously has some shortcomings, and a lot of it is just based off of like design of the game and expectations of her being able to stay in her awakened state a little bit longer. I think that the intention around the character was that optimizing routes to always go for the heal, to always be in the enhanced state, and to try to work around that, but like in practice it just doesn't really happen, so you end up playing most of the game in an unenhanced state. But all I'm saying is that the game that you do play within the unenhanced state is decently competent. It's not too bad in my opinion. There's some people out there in Asia that probably agree with me for her to be within a high B. She's kind of like in the low B territory for EU, so there may be some potential there. You know, the world may have some people that are Celica believers as well, but yeah, I'm a Celica believer. Hey, I also may be biased. I have E30, who's like maybe one of the few Celica players in the world within my region here in SoCal, and so I played some sets with him. So maybe that's why I have Celica as a 2 and not a 1. I don't know. All right, so then we move over to Chie, I kind of hinted at where I had Chie at earlier within my Akihiko discussion, but I do have Chie as a 5. So yeah, Chie is also within that specialist territory of just like one shot Nagoriyuki of like being able to capitalize for huge punish potential on certain hits through the power charge combos and everything. But I think Chie is a little bit more threatening and consistent of a character than Akihiko is, just because of everything else that she has within her kit. The JC in itself is it's one of my least favorite buttons in the game, dude. It's so good. Like she gets to air stall and then she sets up the persona displacement that does the multi hits. It's so good for catching people that are trying to like move at you at all, and it's good as a pressure tool, and it can set up for a solo fuzzy like that. Dude, that button is like so crazy. She has the meteor shower, which like, although it costs 2 bars, it is 2 bars that you spend to kind of control the screen, and you get to act freely afterwards, and it has pretty fast recovery, so it's actually really hard to hit her out of it. Yeah, she has one of my favorite active switch mix-ups in the game in the form of just, it's the easiest active switch. It's just her 5B. And, you know, she does 5 BB. You can active switch to make it hit cross-up or not. It's just like silly things like that, and then just like her overall like approach and game plan. Personally, I find it to be a little bit more consistent than Akihiko's. So like for that reason, I have her within the 5 territory. Not to mention some of the like range in team comps that she can work with is also pretty interesting. Here in the States, we've seen like a lot of Chie Adachi, Chie Yumi, Chie Batista, Chie Izayoi, you know, Chie Ruby, those types of comps. But like on an international spectrum, I mean, Hilda Chie is just like a team that we've seen like really kind of blow people up. So yeah, she actually has quite a few partners that she could work with to not only implement her power charge game plan, but also work with whatever game plan that their partner character is doing. Like for example, having access to creating that many full screen 50-50 scenarios on that Hilda Chie comp, it has to it has to feel magnificent piloting that. I feel like I should try that team sometime. It seems like a fun team to play. I've never done it, but yeah, Chie is solid. Checking the other tier list, I don't think there's going to be too much dispute here. I mean, Chie within Asia, literally top 5. Chie within EU, actually lower. Chie is not in top 5. She's like in top 15. She's rounding out the bottom of the vest. That's very interesting. Within NA, also pretty lower. She's within the top 10 territory, 3, 6, 9. Yeah, solidly placed at number 9. I like the characters above her though, and that makes a bit of sense as to why she's there. And then the world tier list has her a little bit higher than NA as well. So I mean, like the fact of the matter is, no matter which tier list you're looking at, she's placed in S. Like she's very obviously placed within the S category. I think there's just like the variation of opinions of how high in S that she is, how much the majority valued her as that 5 pick. She's actually the highest in Asia, but I do think it's just because she's one of Hilda's best buddies, and Hilda is so valued in Asia, that could be the reason why she's a little bit higher. All right, and then we go over to Elizabeth. This was, I mean, as Bojack noted in his video, one of the more polarizing picks, because you have Cax, who plays the Aegis Elizabeth and is such a dominant presence over there in EU, whereas in North America, I've heard so many people like trash on this character, but at the end of the day, so I placed her as a 2. I think some of the prominent comps that she's able to be played on are pretty good, and obviously there are shortcomings within her kit for sure. There's consistency issues with a lot of her routing. Her air-to-air game leaves a lot to be desired. She is someone that requires like a lot of like resources in a way, and just like not really some of the most burst safe presence in order to really get her game plan going. So I understand why she's valued a little bit lower, but again, similarly to Celica, I did not place her as a 1 because I feel like for what it is, for what she has, she can really get some stuff going. And not so similarly to Celica, we've actually seen it in action in multiple different contexts. So I mentioned Cax with the Elizabeth Aegis play has been able to do some work. We've also seen the formation of the Elizabeth 9 team in the past, and that team is actually freaking insane. It's one of 9's best teams. So I just think for the support potential alone that she's able to give out, I really can't justify putting her in the 1 category, but I'm pretty sure there's quite a few people that had that opinion. In Asia, she's kind of within the B tier, so my opinion kind of falls in line more with Asia, if anything. EU obviously has her significantly higher. She's within the A tier, but that's for outline reasons that BoJack covers a little bit more in his video of like Cax and just dominant presence that he has, which would be allowing for Elizabeth to be placed a little bit higher. In North America, she is significantly lower. Like I'm very sure that there are quite a few North American players that voted her as a 1. That does not really surprise me. And then on the world spectrum, a little bit in the higher B tier. So yeah, Elizabeth, a little bit more of a polarizing pick, and I think it's just a little bit of evaluation of her. I think that everybody in the world probably agrees that she has fantastic support potential. I think the kind of differing factors is like how valuable is that support potential, and do you place more weight on what she's able to give to a team or what she's offering herself? And in that case, North America probably values her a little bit less for those reasons alone. But I didn't have her as a 1. I had her as a 2. Okay, this one that's coming up here, S, may come off as a little bit of a hot take. Am I the outlier? Am I the reason why North America's list is bad? Who knows? I personally put S as a 3. I did not put her as a 2. I did not put her as a 1. I put her as a 3. I think this character gets a bad rap. I find this character to be extremely capable. I mean, she has an instant overhead. Like, now granted, I think that she has to be like a star of the team type of character, although she has some pretty good support potential. I think she's better suited within like the point realm. But yeah, I mean, she has her instant overhead that she's able to utilize for like high-low mix. She has decent projectiles, full screen checks with her super as well. Not too awful damage output, and I don't think she takes that much enabling. Her anti-air potential is decent. Of course, her DP is kind of a meme. It is what it is, but overall, I see S to be a decently capable character, and I've seen her do work. Not so much now. I don't think Tecto really picks the S too much, but even within like some of the more defined states of 2.0 meta, that was a character that Tecto would pick from time to time, is the S. And so seeing her perform on that level of play, and just kind of like my core feelings about the character, because I've played S a little bit. I've tried S Batista in the past, and I've tried S Hilda in the past as well, as kind of like a very meme team. The whole reason why I played that team is because Hilda JC plus S6P, the JC on hit, the S6P actually OTGs no matter what. And I just thought it was funny. So I literally just picked that team to spam that. But I'm not using that as justification of why I have her in the 3 tier. I just think she's actually legitimately a good character with some of her support potential not being too bad. And also, if you have her as a star of the team, I think she can succeed and do well. But I think that's more of a hot take, because if you look at Asia, she is in a B. Now, granted, she's within the high B territory, but she is placed as a B character. EU also has her in the high B territory. North America, oh, maybe I'm not too far off the mark. They have her like right at the bottom of A. Okay, I don't feel like I'm making as hot of a take here anymore. And then the world has her within the high B territory. So yeah, I mean, I have her pretty definitively at the 3. Of course, like looking at the metrics here, if they're within the A, then I'm not too far off the mark. If they're within the B, then like I'm a little bit off there. But yeah, I think S gets a bad rap, undeservedly so. She's definitely not like a trash character at all. All right, and then we go over to Gordeau, who has had a very roller coaster ride when it comes to overall BBTAG presence. He's been here for a while, but the roller coaster ride that Gordeau has pretty much been like a you know that one roller coaster? Hold on. Everyone's seen this type of roller coaster, right? Where it just goes like up and up and up and up, and then it just like massively falls down. This image reminds me a lot of Gordeau. Like that's just kind of like been Gordeau's experience, where like, you know, there was just a time where he was kind of definitively placed at the top because of the active switch shenanigans within Vol and the synergy with Ruby and synergy with like a whole ton of characters, the Gord +1 meta from like the 1.0 days, and then a lot of that got gutted, and the boy just like hasn't really been the same since. But I don't have him as a 1. I have him personally as a 2. I think that Gord's, so the 6P doesn't hit full screen, but I don't know if it necessarily needs to. So saying that to say that I think his support potential is actually still pretty good. 4P is serviceable, 5P is fantastic lockdown, and his active switch potential is like, although it's like super fundamental, I think that it's like, when he is able to excel in those sandwich situations, it's almost like a saturation effect. Like we've been seeing Gord do cross combo mix-ups for so long that I think we oftentimes undervalue how potent his cross combo and sandwich game is, to where although it is super fundamental, it's effective. Like cross up Grim Reaper is like a tool that is like super terrifying to defend against. The active switch happens insanely fast if you're hit. It's because there's so much hit stun, you're very easily going to confirm to a combo, and even probably have some capabilities of making it pretty burst safe if the defender is panicking. If it's blocked, it's lockdown. And not only that, pretty difficult to push lockdown as well. So it's like an advancing special. His normals, I get it. They're not like the normals that they used to be, but I still think they are effective enough in getting the job done. Yeah, I don't see it as placing Gord in the 1 category. And before I even check the tier list, I just want to tell Mystery Racer to stop typing. I actually don't want to hear it. Asia, very obviously, this was the meme. They had Gord as the bottom 1. EU also had Gord as bottom 1. NA, see, I'm not alone here. There are people in North America that also voted Gord as a 2. So maybe it's the battle scars of what Gord used to be, or like those people that voted Gord as a 2. But I'm just outing myself. I was one of those people that voted Gord as a 2. I didn't see him fitting in with the characters that I put as a 1. And then the world also had Gord in the low C tier. Yeah, I kind of prefaced this not in the proper way, because I said that S was going to be my hot take, and it ended up being like pretty in line with what everyone else put. It looks like me putting Gord as a 2 was my hot take. But yeah, I mean, he has layers to his mix potential within like the active switch. He also has strike throw that becomes potent with his command grab as well. Of course, like he doesn't get too big of a payout with his command grab. The assimilation, like meter still properties of that aren't too threatening within the long scope of the game, but having a command throw can be significant. And I don't see him as being like a end of the world doomer 1 tier character, but that's just me. Hakumen, I actually had quite a bit of trouble ranking Hakumen when I was doing the survey, because I remember all the other characters that I had placed within the 3 tier, and I was like, does Hakumen belong there? I don't know. I almost want to look at the list first and look at where they placed Hakumen, because like I was really not sure whether to put Hakumen as a 3 or as a 4, because I actually have quite a high opinion of this character. Hakumen is definitely a pick where like this is not my tier list, because I would not have Hakumen like on my tier list. I don't think I would have Hakumen on the same tier as all these characters. That doesn't really make any sense to me. But when it's like confined to this number format, I ended up picking Hakumen as a 3. Hakumen within Asia ended up being within the A tier. Within EU ended up being high A, so actually within the high A tier. In North America ended up being pretty much smack dab in the middle of A, and within the world ended up being within the middle of A as well. So it looks like a lot of people kind of teeter-tottered between putting Hakumen in 3, putting Hakumen in 4, pretty much almost around the board, averaging out to like a 3.5 score. And yeah, that kind of makes sense with why I was having so much hesitancy of where to actually place him. Because I mean, we've seen Hakumen be used within counterpick comps by well, not even really like counterpick comps, just like we've seen Hakumen have some use here in the States. I mean, Razo and Scrub have both used Hakumen. Kind of different approaches of Hakumen teams, as Razo plays like the Merkava Hakumen and Scrub plays like Carmine Hakumen. But I have seen some of the potential in the Hakumen approaches of being able to tear down some of the screen control characters, just because of being able to slash the projectiles and work his way in. Of course, the active switch potential and the possession of a 6P of that kind, and then also the amplification super that he has to really tack on those damage and those punish scenarios is very good. I almost feel like the more that I talk about him, I feel like for the way that I look at characters, I probably should have had him in 4. But yeah, I have high opinion of the character. The only, I guess, downsides of the character is that like he can be pretty meter intensive, I guess, for some of the like routes with the way that his special moves work in some instances. But just with the output that I've been able to see the character implement within the high level matches, I think he's extremely solid. And again, like if I were ordering this, I wouldn't. If I were ordering this or I were making like an actual tier list, I wouldn't have him on the same tier as these characters. But within 3 or 4 is where everybody put him, so I wasn't too far off the mark there. Okay, Hazama. This is another character who kind of like fell from grace. Like he wasn't like top tier within the 1.0 days, but there was definitely like the Path to Peace playstyle that he had before that is way less effective now. However, for what we have for Hazama in the current state, I think he's all right. I have him in like the 2 tier. Definitely isn't imposing his will in a way to where I would have him within the 3 category. He has a couple of cute comps. You know, the Hazama Adachi fly around plus 6P type of playstyle can be quite annoying to deal with at times. The Not Jerry comp of Carmine Hazama is something that I feel like is pretty specific to him. However, I completely get some of the structure that he's able to bring to that team. Like he sets up some unblockable scenarios there, really makes use of like Carmine Pinwheel, some of the lockdown there to allow Hazama to shine in his ground game. And I mean, at the end of the day, it was the ground game that was a bigger emphasis that was placed on him with the development of his kit through the patch notes in sacrifice of the air game. So I think with Not Jerry playing in that sort of way and getting some of the sets and victories that he has been able to get is because that he's approaching the character in that way, a little bit less reliant on running away, a little bit less reliant on the air mobility game. Of course, that's a part of his kit, so it's something that's going to come up from time to time, but really trying to make his win condition based around lockdown and making use of the grounded mix-up tools that Hazama does have. And it's been interesting. Like I don't really feel the need to put him within 3 category for how well the character has been able to perform, but I think he's very solidly within the 2 spectrum, you know, not too shabby. In comparison to everyone else, I might actually have him lower. I mean, in the Asia, they actually have him within the A tier. They have him average out of the 3. I can see that. Whereas in EU, they have a little bit more closer, in my opinion, averaged out within the B. My opinion definitely lies a little bit more with North America, as in the low B for us. And then in the world, averaged out within the B as well. I'm actually interested in Asia having Hazama within the A tier. I know there's a couple of who's that one Hazama player? There's like that. Does he play Hazama Elizabeth? Yeah, I believe it's Rityo, if I'm not mistaken. Were they not in the 10v10 exhibition? They were in the 10v10 exhibition. So yeah, I mean, the presence of Rityo could be skewing these results a bit for Asia, because I know that like Rityo is definitely one of their more prominent players out there in Japan, and I've heard North American players that have also played against Rityo and have just been like, yo, like this is like not a team, it's almost like an antithesis team when it comes to North American meta, but playing Rityo has like opened my mind to just like, dang, maybe Hazama is strong. Who knows? Maybe Hazama is slept on. Who knows? So I think that's the reason why Hazama is a little bit higher on the Asia side. But yeah, I don't think Hazama is necessarily like a trash or like awful character. I just personally haven't been exposed to it yet for reasons as to why I should put him in 3 or anything. All right, and then that brings us over to Heart, who I feel like I probably have a higher opinion of than the masses. So I put Heart in 4. I think this character's cheat. Like, her flight, and I just really hate the flight invul through the forward direction as well. I think that's a really insane capability that the character has. Her damage is pretty high. She has a pretty simple game plan, and just I think she has some like pretty like nasty comps that we've been able to see come out. You know, Duck utilizing the Heart Akatsuki, just having that lockdown available and allowing for Heart to fly in and do like mix-up after mix-up and convert off of it into solid damage is super oppressive. But also Sploogie with the Heart Naoto Shirogane, very oppressive as well, but in the form of Naoto 6P causing lockdown instead. And that team having the capability of being able to have Mark as a win condition. It's not the main win condition, but it's just something that is there as well as like kind of like a feather in the cap. But yeah, I think she like plays nice with people that are allow for her to get the lockdown that she needs, and when she gets that, she excels. But even if she doesn't have the lockdown, trying to lock the character down herself is just a nightmare. Like, she's dipping all across the screen, which personally I wouldn't find issue with if it wasn't for the invul that she's able to get through the back homing that adds an extra layer to the mind game. It's like, it's that compounded with everything else that just makes me think like this character is so freaking good. For these high flyer type of characters, I mean, I've had experience with high flyers in the past because I've played against old Hazama before, right? I was never too afraid of fighting old Hazama because I've been playing Batista for like a very long time. I always had Batista 4P, so like if Hazama was going to be flying to the skies and going for that path to peace type of playstyle, I know as a matter of counterplay, I have Batista 4P, and he has to keep that in mind. So me being exposed to a character like Heart Aino after all these years, and she has counterplay to a Batista 4P or a Hilda 4P type of playstyle to back homing, and then add a layer of mind game on top of that, it's frustrating to me. I don't like that. Yeah, I think that is a very good part of her kit for her to have to really kind of shine in that high flyer type of game that Hazama was able to bring in the past, but have a little bit more solid rush down and mix up potential off her high load that she's able to implement with her homing, and just all around just being a super solid character, dude. I think Heart is so good. So yeah, in Asia, she's actually within like the high A territory, so that means that there were definitely a significant amount of people that agree with me and have Heart as a 4. Shout outs to whoever those people are. I'm right there with you. Hey, if any of you voted there as a 5, go right ahead, be my guest. You might be woke. Going into EU, a little bit lower on the A tier, so like within that 3.7 territory, so still a significant amount of people that voted her as a 4. America, we have Heart pretty high. Significant people that have her as a 4 as well, kind of like within that 3.9 territory. And of course in the world, also a little bit higher within the A scope. So yeah, I guess I'm not too far off the mark there. I think it's just like the difference between the Heart Aino 4 that I have there compared to the other 4s that I have there is that I'm very passionately placing her as a 4. Like in my heart of, if this were just like a subjective tier list and I didn't have to share this with anybody, I would put her as a 5 just to be like, yo, I hate this character. But like if I'm being objective and I'm just like placing my own bias out of it, Heart is a 4. It's fine. All right, and now we're moving on to one of the very obviously polarizing characters within the list, Hilda. So Hilda, I think going into this idea as it was formatted, is definitely the character who was going to have some of the more mixed results. We know how Asia feels about the character. This is their meta definer. Like this is the character that is like their problem character at the moment, and who a lot of them believe is the character to look out for. And I mean, it reflects in the results. They have Hilda within the top 3. If I'm not mistaken, we would have to go back to BoJack's video, but I think that she was all across the board 5 votes. I'm not quite sure on that, but like just based within this placement alone, it has to be assumed that she got quite a bit of 5 votes. In EU, Hilda also has a very dominating presence, so she's like within the top 4. Hilda Seth is very prominent within EU. Hilda Yuzu, also that one player, I think it's Jaja Kakuje. I'm gonna talk about Yuzu a little bit later, but yeah, Hilda has extremely dominant presence within EU as well. On the world scope, definitively within the top 5, whereas in North America, a little bit lower. So not even like within the top 10. She is within the S tier, but she's like within that 11th or like 12th slots. Like that means she averaged a little bit more within like a 4.3 type of situation. I personally placed Hilda as a 4. So I think it's also worth mentioning that I play Hilda. I've always had Hilda as like a side character since like last year in 2021. I never really committed to the character because I couldn't find a team that I really wanted to use her on. Like I played Hilda Ragna for a bit just to kind of like meme around. It wasn't until CEO 2021 happened and I saw Elon play in person and seeing the way they played Hilda New, and I thought it was like really cool. I was kind of inspired and I wanted to try Hilda New for myself, but I'm just like I could not. One, like I didn't really take to New that much. I didn't really like New. The character just wasn't for me. But also two, trying to emulate Elon's playstyle I don't think is very easy. Like Elon just very obviously has many years on New and very noticeable mastery with Hilda and like that comp specifically, that I almost place him as like within like a specialist type of mindset. That's not really something that you want to try to go emulate. So after coming to grips with that, I tried to figure out what type of Hilda team would work for me, and that's how I landed on Hilda Batista. Towards like Batista is the character that I've been playing. It's the character that I've been playing the longest at BBTAG. Just throughout the years, I have the most amount of hours in games played with Batista by far. And so going into that zoner comp type of playstyle and really being able to kind of like switch my mindset, because I've never really played a zoner comp like that before. My previous team comps, Yang Batista, that was like a brawler with a screen control assist type of team that I had going on. And then Mitsuru Batista, y'all know the vibes with that. Yumi 9 does have a little bit of like screen control tendencies going on, but like the zoning isn't really the win condition with that team per se. It's more so of like assist sniping and like screen control in like a denial type of way. But at the end of the day, I do want to mix you up. I have unblockables, I have an instant overhead, like I have really cheap stuff so that I do like want to kind of go on the offensive and get up close in some type of way. But Hilda Batista was the first team comp that I played that was like more encouraging of like a runaway and screen control type of playstyle. And like all of the like Hilda has mix embedded within like her 5B and her 2A 2C and her 2A 5B and all these like insane like full screen active switch situations that she's able to create. The fact of the matter is like it is full screen, like it is being placed from like a pretty safe distance or a hard to contest distance without meter. So that was kind of like a mindset switch for me to really kind of see what the character was and kind of base my own opinion off of it. I still play Hilda to this day. Hilda Batista is one of like my main comps. I think if I was grinding the game a little bit more, Hilda Batista would probably become my main comp for sure. I think that she is very comfortably in 4, but I don't personally see the 5 argument yet. And even beyond the things that I've outlined with like her cross combo potential, her zoning potential and everything, there's also other aspects of her kit that are extremely significant. Assist sniping. JB as an assist snipe is like so insanely good. So long as it makes contact, the fact that if you like do the JBB and then you teleport to the point character, it's like not only sniping the assist, but also allowing for you to get a little bit of pressure going onto the point character if they're not prepared for you to do the JBB. She also has like the added benefit of being able to pull people out of the corner as a matter of her 5A, her 5BB, and her 236B allowing for that, which I think is kind of insane. To where like a lot of the overwhelming nature of Hilda's mix-up game does come from being able to create a four-way mix-up, right? Where it's either like I'm going to do cross-up, I'm going to stay same side, and I have high-low capabilities as well. If I'm going to do a 2C, if I'm going to do a 236C, if I'm going to do a 214C, right? So being able to not be locked out of just the high-low game when you're in the corner, so long as you have assist and create cross combo, of course, being not locked out of that, even if you have corner, because Admittedly, if you are just playing on like a high-low spectrum, she is significantly easier to defend against. If you're just relying on 2360, if you're just relying on 214C, I think everyone has gotten significantly better at blocking those type of mix-ups, especially with the addition of rollback netcode. But that's not even like the most threatening parts for mix-up. When it's in a sandwich situation, of course, it's a little bit more potent because there's like an added layer to the mix. But really, it's the sandwich mix-up of like, the active swap with her buttons that I think is like really the most terrifying parts of her kit. But yeah, none of it, in my opinion, is enough to make me want to put her in the 5 territory. But it could happen. But yeah, even with me having Hilda placed as a 4, it's pretty interesting seeing the development of this character anyways, right? Because in early BBTAG 2.0, I think that a lot of North America thought that this character was like not good. Like if this type of format of video was done in the past, there would be probably some North American people that would like vote her as like a 2 or like a 3. But seeing where she placed within the North America list, right? She's in the S tier. So like there are people that voted her as 5. There are people that voted her as 4 as well. So the opinion has definitely changed around this character. But I think in Asia's opinion, the North American opinion of Hilda has not changed enough. All right, and then we go to who I believe to be like the most like mid character in the game. And like I don't mean mid in like the meme sense of like mid actually meaning that they're bad, but like literally like if I had to place a character that is just like the mid tier, I believe it to be Hyde. So with that, I place Hyde as a 3. Hyde has everything that you could need when it comes to fundamental BBTAG. Like his active switch game is like serviceable, it's good, it's completely fine. His damage output, it's serviceable, it's good, it's completely fine. His assist kit is actually above average in my opinion. Hyde 5P is very good. 4P is also pretty good, and 6P is like pretty good as well. He has decent supers. He has the full screen check super in the form of the Pellbringer. The volcanic super hits on both sides. That can be significant at times. This DP is good. He's just like an extremely solid character who does still get some play from time to time. Narukami Hyde, Ragna Hyde, I've seen be played. Ruby Hyde as well. Shout out to Jay Gotchabeezy. But yeah, Hyde, in my opinion, he's just like, he is in the middle. How many characters in this game? 52 or like 53? He's in that 26, 27 placement. He's fine. Asia has Hyde. Having him within the B tier like this is actually a little bit more within like a 2.9 territory. So a little bit of people that voted him as a 3. EU has Hyde here. So a little bit in the higher echelon of like 3.3-ish. Which is pretty interesting, actually. North America, also kind of within the 3.3 territory. And the world, they have High within like the low 3s. So I actually find this interesting because for Hyde to be placed within the 3 category, that means that there are some people that voted Hyde as a 4, which I think is a little bit high. I mean, if I'm just looking at the characters that I have placed within my 4 tier, I would not put Hyde there. There really isn't anything about his kit that I think is so exaggerated or so such a defined strength that I would want to have him as a 4. Again, I think one of the biggest key strengths of Hyde's kit definitely comes within his assist kit. His assists are definitely above average, but that wouldn't be enough to want me to place him as a 4. But there are some people within North America and some people within Europe that place him as a 4. And right on. Okay, so now we're heading over to Izayoi. This is probably not the most PC way to define Izayoi as a character, but my way that I look at Izayoi is that I look at her as like Diet Aegis or like Diet Heart. So needless to say, I have her placed within like the 3 category. Of course, she's like great. She has mix-up potential. She's able to fly. She has the teleports. She has the projectile that can lock you down. Her 6P is actually like really good in terms of like locking you down. There are definitely parts of her kit that are extremely oppressive, extremely annoying to deal with. I got to play Chop Suey in an offline setting. I actually think that's like set that I got to play because Chop Suey is uploaded within Bojack's channel, and like I was just getting like absolutely rocked. Like it was really hard to get like a advantage against this character with how fast that she is, and especially playing against characters that are at the skill level of Chop. But yeah, personally, in terms of, I think she's just kind of like averaging out, because I do see her as a similar character to like Aegis or Heart, but she's kind of like averaging out some of the parts of the kit that I think Aegis significantly excels at above the others, and that Heart significantly excels at above all the others. So like when it comes to damage output, right, Aegis definitely has the more solid damage output in comparison to the three, whereas Izayoi's, it's probably some of the worst within the three, right? Heart, when it comes to mobility, obviously gonna have the best mobility out of the three. Izayoi, I guess, Izayoi, just because of the teleports alone, it does give her an added layer to her mobility. So there is that. But just all across the board, when you like kind of stack these characters up, if you're gonna be comparing them in my mind, you know, I don't know if many other people look at these characters as similar as I do, but when I kind of stack them up on a categorical basis, averaging them out, I think Izayoi ends up becoming the lesser of the three. So because of that, I have her placed within the three tier internally, and not really within like a 4 tier or anything. But that's not to say that she's like awful. I just think that like if you want to play her type of game plan or her type of style, there are probably characters that do what she does or similar, and are kind of the better for it at the end of the day. When it comes to Asia's opinion, they have her within the A tier. So like there were some people in Asia that voted Izayoi as a 4, but she ended up placing within like a 3 average. In EU, a little bit lower, so like actually within like a 3.1, 3.2 territory. In North America, kind of within like that 3.5, 3.4 territory, a little bit lower within the A scale. And then with the world, also within that 3.5, 3.4, maybe even like 3.3 territory. So across the board, it seems like most people seem to think that she's like within the 3. I can see an argument for people placing her as a 4, but again, like, because I look at the character the way that I do, with the overlap between her peers, and me personally thinking that she gets kind of outshined by said peers, I personally have to place her within a 3. Even though she is outshined by those peers, she's like kind of falling in comparison as valued lower in a playstyle that at its core is extremely good. Like locking people down and going for the high-low type of playstyle that all 3 of these characters implement is an extremely good playstyle because of how hard it is to defend against and not really needing a sandwich in order for it to be potent. I just think Aegis and Heart do a little bit of a better job of it, in my opinion. And then we go over to Jin, who is a pretty... I was interested to see where Jin ends up on these lists due to how little Jin players there are. There are not very many. I mean, within North America, Monkey 4012 and Monkey from Texas plays Jin, but like, yeah, outside of that scope, there's just like not really a lot of Jin presence. This is another character that's kind of like fallen from grace, but I don't have him as a 2. I have Jin as a 3. In fact, like again, if this was like ordered, I'd have him like pretty close to Hyde. I think Jin is like a pretty capable all-rounder type of character. Now there are some perks of his kit that are pretty like specific to him, like with his 6P being that slow-moving multi-hitting projectile. We already know the memes of like Susanoo Jin and what that enables with like the unblockables and such. So I think that's kind of like a feather in his cap to give him like a little bit unique presence when it comes to a matchup. It's 5P is serviceable. 4P is actually pretty good. And then overall damage output from the character, so long as you're doing like the optimal combos that I've seen, his damage output is actually pretty above average. In fact, resonance damage, I mean, this is a very like minute part of the kit to look at, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not too big of an advantage for him, but like his resonance combos actually can't get quite up there in damage. And there's a little bit of flexibility to them as well, depending on how much meter that you want to spend. It almost gives me a very reminiscent of, not quite as good, but very like Akatsuki style of meter cash out when he has resonance available. Of like, yeah, you know, you can spend these resources, you can do these type of routes, and like eventually you're going to end up with like 9K, 10K, 11K, so long as like you know what you're doing. So Yeah, I think Jin is good. I think there were probably some people that voted him as a 2, but personally I had him as a 3. Asia has Jin at like a 2.9, so there were definitely some people that voted him as a 2, but there were some people that voted him as a 3 as well. EU put Jin kind of like right solid within the 3.0 territory, so I'm actually curious as to what that was a matter of, like the averaging out, or if like just a lot of people voted him as a 3 and very minimal people voted him as a 2 or a 4. So that's interesting to see. North America has Jin kind of actually higher than everyone else, because in the A tier for EU is like solid within 3.0. For Asia, it was like a 2.9. For North America, this is more of like a 3.2. So a little bit more valued in North America, it seems. And then within the world, also having like a 3.1, 3.0 type of placing. So yeah, I think it makes the most sense that North America probably has Jin valued higher in comparison to everyone else, because we do have some people that actively play Jin, whereas this character, for the most part, within the grand scheme of the BBTAG meta, has been a little bit erased from history. It's just like, yeah, it saw like significantly more play in 1.0 and just kind of fell from grace since then. But I don't think it is the case of because he is like a bad character. I just think people have just simply moved on to like other teams or like other comps. Okay, and now we're moving on to Jubei. So similarly to Jin, but maybe even more so, my opinion as not only a North American player, but a Southern California BBTAG player, is probably going to be pretty skewed in comparison to everyone else. Jubei is like one of the rarest characters, like that is not a character that you come across so often. Jubei does have some players, you know, there's some people within Asia that play Jubei. EU as well also has some Jubei players, but like within North America, we have Elion and we have Kiyomi, and Kiyomi is someone who at a time I lived like minutes away from. So needless to say, I have played a lot of BBTAG with Kiyomi. So given the not only have I played like a lot of BBTAG with Kiyomi, I've played a lot of BBTAG with Kiyomi for a really long time. Kiyomi's been playing BBTAG since 1.0 and like used to go to WNF during those times of like 2018. So at my very first WNF I played for BBTAG, Kiyomi was in the bracket. So I've been playing BBTAG with Kiyomi for years. They didn't play Jubei at that time. They played Jubei a little bit later, but just saying that to say, as early as Kyo started playing Jubei, I was exposed to it. I think that was like in 2019 when he started playing the character. I was exposed to it immediately then, so I've been playing against Jubei as a character for a really long time. But before going too deep into it, I have Jubei placed as a 4. Jubei is kind of also, I don't think I have Jubei within like the same style of character that Aegis and Heart are, but he does kind of share that characteristic with Heart, that he's an extremely hard character to lock down. He is so fast. And then also him having the Shiranui just makes him like even more of a nuisance to deal with, because he just can all of a sudden create a sandwich situation, or all of a sudden just like scoop you out of the skies with an air-to-air. Like is a really annoying tool to deal with. But even beyond that, Jubei's damage output is extremely high. Sandwich potential due to like the cross-up dash is super good. He's able to create a lot of like unseeable mix-up opportunities with the like way that you can construct Oki with him, and I have a very high opinion of the character. But I can also omit that if it weren't for having so many games with Kyo, my opinion of the character would probably not be as high. But nah, man, I got Jubei as a 4, like very solidly placed as a 4. Asia actually has Jubei within a high A. They have Jubei has a high A, so that means that there was like quite a few people that also voted Jubei as a 4 within Asia. EU has Jubei within like a 3.3 territory, so actually majority of people voted 3 for Jubei in EU. North America has Jubei within S, which means there was more people that voted Jubei as a 4. Again, even like although Kyo hasn't been to many offline majors, he has been to some. One of which being Frosty's, in which he got top 8 in. And so and Vortex Gallery, silly me, where he got second. So people have been exposed to Kyo one way or another, whether it be like through watching him play or through playing him. And then we've had Elion, who's done work with the character in the past as well. I haven't even mentioned Jubei 9 with the conversations that I've been having, and that is, or like with the discussion I've been having with Jubei here, and that is like also like an extremely potent team there. And then the world has Jubei the lowest. No, not the lowest. It's a little bit higher than EU. Again, the world always being kind of like averaged out between like two territories, but yeah, Jubei is just like really, really good. I think it has been good for quite some time, but just with like the one thing about Jubei is that like I don't think he's a very approachable character. Like he's not a very inviting character. I think he does take some time to kind of iron out and get comfortable with, which is why his player base is a little bit low. But so long as you put in the time and the effort to getting comfortable with the character, we've seen the character be successful. Another thing that I want to also put here is actually specifically within the Asia section where they have Jubei. Personally, I see Jubei as a pretty good pick for Hilda. I'm not gonna flat out call it a counter pick, but I think Jubei fights Hilda extremely well. So I'd be interested to see Kyo play more Asia style Hilda players. We did get to fortunately see Kyo play Gura, and Kyo was actually able to beat Gura at Vortex Gallery. And we saw Kyo play Bipa, also known as Flower Man at Frosty's, and Kyo was able to get that victory as well pretty handily. And I really think a big factor of that is Kyo's mastery with Jubei. You know, there may be some aspects as well as like unfamiliarity with Jubei, since Jubei is such a rare, like a niche pick, but also I think Jubei fights Hilda pretty well, so I wanted to make note of that. All right, this list has a lot of 5s, a lot of 4s, a lot of 3s, a lot of 2s, but it has no 1s. I think we've landed on our first one in the form of Kanji Tatsumi, who I placed as a 1. So Kanji, I actually had a little bit of trouble placing. I wasn't sure if I should put him as a 1 or a 2. This character very obviously has his shortcomings. He is so extremely slow. Not only that, the ways that he has to cover space is he's literally just throwing himself at you, right? He's throwing himself at you with the command throw, he's throwing himself at you with the chair dive. And I don't think it's one of the most effective strategies, because if you want to cover like a proper amount of space, you do need to take to the skies first and then commit to that special. And with the, you know, he doesn't have like Heart Ino back homing or anything like that. It's a pretty linear approach that I think has like, you know, multitudes of counterplay within like the screen control type of meta that is present within BBTAG at the moment. So I think that's kind of like a chip on his shoulder. So yeah, I mean, like it's just like extremely tough for him to get in. You could obviously try to play characters that make it easier for him to get in, but then the question becomes like, is it worth it pouring those resources into Kanji? But I think some of the issues that I had with like placing Kanji actually pertain to some of the pros that Kanji has. Kanji's damage output is actually very high. He's able to get quite a bit of damage. Now, granted, the damage that he's able to get does entail that you have made some type of mistake. Like you're getting burst punished or you're getting DP punished, and like you're taking that unburstable damage at play. But like his damage potential is pretty high. Some of the displacement shenanigans that he's able to do with the anti-air command throw can also create pretty terrifying situations, especially if combined with an assist. You see critical existence failure go for these setups with Yosuke Kanji quite a bit. Speaking of Yosuke Kanji, that team is like actually pretty annoying to fight. Yosuke 6P does a great job of kind of covering the ground and allowing for Kanji to take to the skies so he can get those dives off. And even if those like dive maneuvers don't hit, oftentimes it does set up a advantageous active switch or cross combo situation, so that's not too awful. But yeah, I think a lot of my reasonings for placing Kanji as a 1 isn't so much of him like really lacking as a character, because I do see some potential with his comps of like Kanji Naoto Shirogane and like the Kanji Yosuke as well. Like I've seen those team comps do work. I think it's just a matter of outplay that's happening in those scenarios, and at the end of the day, his matchup spread against like the characters that really dominate the BBTAG meta as well, I think is not great. So that's why I placed him as a 1. But he's extremely capable. As I have been kind of prefacing, like I think that pretty much all the characters in BBTAG can be capable of winning a tournament. I've seen Kanji win tournaments, pun and done, has taken Vortex Gallery before, and that was after getting a win over Razo. So I mean, yeah, a win of that caliber with Kanji is nothing to scoff at. Like, Kanji's completely capable. But yeah, as it pertains to everybody else, Asia actually has him in B, which means he averaged out to a 2, like a low 2. EU has him as a C, which means he averaged out to like a high 1. North America has him averaged out to a low 1. And like, although I fall more aligned with the North American opinion because World has him as like a high 1, again, if I were making a more formal tier list, it's hard to even say if I would have Kanji like in the bottom tier. Like, I may have him a tier above the bottom tier. I haven't really given it much thought, but in comparison to like a Gordeau, a Hazama, an Elizabeth, a Celica, right? I feel like just the matchup spread that he has to deal with in terms of like the way that the meta plays now is so stacked against him that I find it hard to justify putting him within a 2. So that is the reason why I have him as a 1. Now we go over to, so like actually the next batch of characters going to be coming up are all going to be a similar deal. Labrys has extremely little representation. There was a brief period where Duck was playing Labrys, but I haven't seen Duck pull out Labrys in forever. There's even some other players that I've seen play Labrys within the past. Dark Deaths had a Labrys comp, if I'm not mistaken, but this character gets like no play anywhere, it feels like, as of late. And so I had a little bit of trouble rating her, but I have felt that Labrys is a little bit undervalued. Now, I'm not making a S type of placement where I'm going to be putting Labrys in 3. I'm going to place her in 2. I think she has honestly a pretty fundamental kit. Her assist potential can be a little bit lacking in some areas. The 6P, although niche, and when it works, it looks really cool. It's a very slow startup assist. It's like asking to get assist sniped if you're not covering it properly. 5P and 4P, they're perfectly fine. I think the thing with her that's kind of lost in translation, it kind of like some missed potential for the character, is like she, on the surface of it, is really trying to capture that Akihiko or Chie one-shot type of playstyle that they have available, but she is not as effective in pulling off that strategy because of what parameters and prerequisites she has to fill in order to one-shot you. So she needs the red axe. She has to build up a red axe by hitting you a bunch, right? And getting very specific type of combos to have the red axe cash out be worth it. It can be tough kind of getting that in her favor as a win condition. And so yeah, if you kind of compare the 3, like Chie, all it takes is a power charge and like you're done. She doesn't even necessarily need 4 bars to kill you. She can get power charge and do massive amounts of damage solo, just within like whatever combo that she's already doing. Akihiko, by getting up the stacks with his punches and everything, obviously able to cash out into loads of damage as well. But like Labrys with the red axe, it could be kind of a nuisance getting that going. Rather than Akihiko, when Akihiko has you within the combo, or like when Chie has you within the combo that's going to kill you, they're just going to kill you, right? Labrys is like momentum based, so she has to kind of like land a hit and then land a subsequent hit after that in order to get the one-shot kill condition going, and that's what kind of like stifles her a bit, in my opinion. But the core kit as it is not awful enough for me to be like, yo, she's a 1. However, I also don't think it's good enough for me to want to place her within a 3. I just think she's a 2. However, again, I do need to omit that like the representation of this character is so low that it's almost like hard to figure out where to place her at all, because I don't really feel like this character like being super pushed within the competitive landscape at the time. But yeah, I mean, Asia has her within the B tier. That means she's like pretty much a flat 2.0. EU has her within the C tier, which actually she's like one above Gord, which means she's like a 1.1. I don't think she is a 1. North America has her within the high C tier, so she's like a 1.8, 1.7. I'm skewing that data. I'm the problem. I'm the reason why Labrys isn't like in the low 1 category. It's all my fault. I'm sorry, America. I failed you. And then in the world, she's also within the low 1 territory. So surprisingly, my opinion of the character actually most aligns with Asia. But I just think on a worldwide scope, this is just a character that's like massively unexplored. I don't want to say undervalued, because I don't know what her value is. I don't know what I believe for her value to be, but unexplored and just overall just kind of like not present is the way that I would define Labrys at the moment. And then we have Linne over here. Linne is another one who I would say is pretty underrepresented as a whole. However, she does have some people and some comps that she has been present with, at least within the past couple of years, right? Omnix, I know, doesn't really play anymore in the North American side of things, but they've played Hyde Linne. There's also Nanashi out of Japan who plays the same team, Hyde Linne. Seems to be one of like her best teams. And so yeah, Linne has some picks here and there, so we do at least get to see her get some screen time in a 2.0 setting. But overall, I have her within a 2. She's extremely serviceable, pretty similar to Shoto style Hyde Jin in a way. One of the big feathers in her cap is having that role, so she can create kind of sandwich situations on demand, which is pretty useful. Pretty significant. But yeah, I don't really think there's anything that the character like super excels at from a game plan perspective or anything like that to want me to place her within 3. But I don't think the character is trash. Her damage is like pretty average, you know, very digestible, kind of straightforward kind of game plan going on with her. There are some high-low components to it, and then a sandwich she can be pretty threatening as well. But overall, I just don't really see her as imposing her will or having as impact on the game or the meta as some of the characters in the 3 territory. So for Asia, it looks like she's actually within the high B, so like within 2.7. There may have been some people that voted her as a 3. I can see the argument for her being a 3. Again, it's that lack of representation factor. For those characters that don't have representation, it really just kind of comes down to belief of what the character has and potential that they have to shake up the game. And for me, I kind of have low belief there. But again, this is Asia, so they do have Nanashi. So that could be kind of playing a part into why Linne is a little bit higher. Linne and EU actually kind of within a similar position, within like that 2.7 territory within B. And then we have North America. Again, very similar position within that 2.7 territory. Interested to know the opinion of players that put her at 3. And then the world actually a little bit lower. So I actually aligned a little bit more with the world here as they have her within like a 2.2. Yeah, Linne, she's not bad. Perfectly, you know, capable character. But one thing I would say, she's underrepresented, kind of similar to Labrys. There could be some potential for this character to be valued a bit greater if there were players that were putting in more work and giving us a little bit more exposure with the character. But I definitely wouldn't say that she's a bad character. She's perfectly fine. And then I'm telling you, like these next series of characters that we have here from alphabetical, there's something about like if your name starts with the letter L or with like the letter M, you are super underrepresented. Mai is also a pretty underrepresented character. However, based off what she has within her kit, I would put her within a 3. Her assist potential is insane. 5P is such a meme, dude. That thing just zipped across the screen. It is a bullet. And also, although she's flinging herself at you, it does its job so well. Her game plan is kind of odd. Like, she does kind of like have capabilities of like floating within the air. She can be pretty fast on the ground. And overall, she just kind of strikes me as like that completely like average character with a little bit of quirks, you know, a little bit of sauce. There are some like spicy parts of her kit, but like really she's just extremely mid. Again, like the actual definition of mid, not like the meme definition. When it comes to Asia has my actually within the B, so she's a little bit within like the 2.5-ish territory. For EU, they have my a little bit higher, so like 2.7-ish. NA has my within like a 2.8, 2.9-ish territory. Then the world has my within like a 2.5. Not really surprising that Asia has my a bit higher, because we have seen utilization of her even beyond Totally Drew. Monkey hasn't played the Mai Yumi comp in quite some time, but that is something that they have used in the past. Yeah, we might have a little bit more exposure to Mai than other regions, maybe, but it doesn't surprise me that North America has her the highest. That brings us over to Makoto. So Makoto, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I have her placed as a 1. Similarly to Kanji, I mean, her damage output is not the worst. It's decently okay. I just think this character has an extremely tough time just like navigating in this 2.0 meta. She just feels so out of place. She like in your face can really have some like mid dispenser qualities of her pressure sequencing and does not feel all too threatening to contend against for the most part. Now, one thing that she does have available to her, similarly to the Linne, I should say, is that like roll type of capability to easily create the sandwiches, which I think is actually a pretty beneficial part of her game. But she, similarly to Kanji, I don't think fights a lot of the meta very well. It can be not too difficult of a task to keep her out and really try to make her earn her way in, but also once she's in, it's really the pressure is like kind of on the Makoto player to open you up or get anything going, and she definitely needs a team constructed around her for sure. The Mai Yumi comp that Ryazo uses, I've seen some glimpses of success with that Ryazo has been bringing to the table, so that's fantastic. There's some people that like believe in the character and are like loyalists to Makoto. Oh, Chompy, I gotta mention Chompy, of course. Shout outs to Chompy with the Makoto Batista comp that they used. One of my favorite players to watch, like by far. And like Chompy actually has like a different approach to the character overall, with like this like safe jump vortex style of gameplay that is like very interesting. But even with that, I don't think it's enough for me to want to place the character in 2. However, I have to put an asterisk here, and this is where I should like heavily emphasize to like, I think every character can win and can have like success. That includes Makoto, that includes Kanji. I brought up the example of Pun being able to take Vortex Gallery East in 2021, that I think it was. And Makoto, I can bring up the example of my personal run at Heaven or Hell, whereas like the players that I lost to there were Maya and it was Chompy. So yeah, I have lost the tournament set to Makoto in 2022. Go figure. But yeah, unsurprisingly, everyone had her very low. For Asia, it's bottom 2. For EU, it's actually a little bit higher. It's like bottom 10. So like right at the bottom of B. That means that like there were quite a few people in EU that voted her as a 2, which is pretty interesting. North America kind of has her within the bottom 3 territory, and the world actually has her within the bottom 3 territory. This is significant enough to actually like really want to inquire about some of the EU placements here, because this is a little bit of an outlier, right? Across the scope of everyone else, when it comes to Asia, North America, and the world, she is bottom 3, but like within EU, she's not only like more within bottom 10, but she's a tier up. She's literally a B, which means she's averaged out at a 2.0 or higher, which is that's really interesting. I wonder how they came to those conclusions. Okay, so continuing on with the trend of if your name starts with an L or an M, you don't have much representation, we have to move on to Merkava. So Merkava, this has been more of a terrorizing character in previous versions of BBTAG within a 2.0 meta. Has seen significantly less play, not without taking some pretty prominent tournaments here and there, courtesy of Razo, still maintaining a pretty interesting and relevant to their playstyle comp with the Merkava Hakumen that has done some work against some of the best in the world. With that, I did put Merkava in the 2 tier. Now I gotta say, Merkava is the pick that like I look at this list and I don't actually think I have him in the right tier. I think we'll see as we go along, but like I think this is the character that I probably should have rated as a 3. Looking at it in this format is a little bit different, because in the format that it was given to us, it was just like a survey. It was basically like 10 characters on each given page, and you just kind of work through the pages. I think one page had BlazBlue characters, one page had Persona characters, one had Uni characters, and so on and so forth. So within the context of ranking the Uni characters when I was on the list, I probably thought in my head, yeah, Merkava's like a 2. But like now that I look at this graph and I look at where everybody is, I almost feel like Merkava should be a 3. But like just to give the overview of Merkava, I mean, I think Merkava is a pretty solid character. I mean, there's like full screen mixed capabilities available. The flight mode can be a little bit obnoxious to contend with. Merkava has like multi-hitting normals, and a pretty like just solid, if I've already mentioned it or not, active switch game that's available. Support potential is decent. I mean, the 5P lockdown, although for me it leaves a little bit to be desired in range, it serves its purpose. You know, it's serviceable. And the 6P covers a good amount of space as well. There's some really varying ideologies in how we see him play nowadays. There's Mitsuru Merkava that we've seen Dorobang use. There's Razo using the Hakumen Merkava. There's also Moth, who plays New Merkava. And I mean, like, all of those different teams are completely different styles, I would say. So if anything, it would mean that Merkava is pretty flexible. So for the purpose of consistency and holding my feet to the fire for this video, I'm going to leave him in 2. But I mean, there's like an asterisk. Just looking at it, I fully believe I should probably have him in 3. Looking at everyone's opinion, so we have Asia actually believes for him to be in the 2 range, kind of like within like the 2.3, 2.4 type of territory. So hovering between like 2 and 3. For EU, they actually have Merkava in A, so within like the 3.1 type of range. North America has Merkava almost in the middle of A, like in a 3.3 territory, and the world has pretty much Merkava set at like a 3.0. It makes sense to me that we in America have Merkava ranked as the highest, since Razo does still play the character at a high level. Yeah, but like it's still just kind of like running into this issue with like characters like Linne and Labrys and Mai and Makoto, of just like there's such a significant lack of representation. It really just kind of comes down to beliefs, experience, and just overall on paper what's going on, and just at the end of the day potential. But I think Merkava is solid. Again, probably should be in 3, but I'll hold my feet to the fire and keep him in 2 for now. All right, and now we have Mika. So the difference between like Makoto and Linne and Labrys and Merkava and Mai is like, although it was kind of working off a belief system due to lack of character representation, Mika is also a character that I feel like doesn't have a lot of representation in today's landscape, but we know she's good. Like, she has EX Mika Missile, which is projectile invul. She has some pretty messed up teams. I mean, she's a part of that unblockable loop sequence of teams that Yang Carmine can do and Carmine Mika can do respectively. We got to see how Wadamasa is able to pilot that team, and it makes it look even more broken than I initially imagined. Mika is in my opinion, and similarly to Jubei, a very solid counter meta character. Like, Jubei and Mika both share the quality of like being able to traverse across the screen very quickly and very safely, and just like navigating space and really making it hard for like characters that emphasize in space control. Mika does have to do it at the cost of meter, but it's just like EX Mika Missile costing a meter is just kind of like a no-brainer action, because the payout that you're able to get from it of just like instantly you're navigating like across the screen. You know, you're likely doing this if you're playing the character properly. You're doing this in reaction to a screen control like type of Azrael or like Hilda side B or something like that being thrown at you. You're doing that reactively towards that to get yourself in and get a punish. It's so worth it, right? At the end of the day, having that at your disposal. So not to mention, I mean, beyond that, she is extremely solid. The buffs to like her 5BB and the JB is like very silly but very good. She has a JC that could be used for a overhead and makes her cross combo pretty threatening. She has a command throw where she like leaps and throws you. Just overall, she is so extremely solid. This is a little bit of a long shot, but I feel like if she was invested in more as like a counterplay pick, just because of some of the matchup spread that she has against a lot of the top tiers in this game, there could be potential for her to move into like a 5 category. Like, I'm not gonna do it, and I don't think anyone else has done it, because you know, I don't know how much sense that would make to put her in a category like that, but just in theory, if I'm just like theory crafting, looking at like the on paper matchups and what she brings to the table and how well she fights a lot of the best characters, like it's someone that, like, if there's just a little bit more representation, I wouldn't be surprised to see the opinion change around her to kind of like go within the 5 territory, but she's very comfortably in 4, and I would say deservedly so given what she's been able to show off. When it comes to varying opinions for Asia, they have Mika pretty solidly within A, so like in a 3.3 territory. They do have Wadamasa there, so I'm actually surprised that Mika might not be a bit higher given that, but it is what it is. EU, kind of similar to Japan's opinion, honestly. It does seem like there is quite a bit of overlap between, not Japan, Asia and EU opinions. So yeah, unsurprisingly, Mika is kind of smack dab close to the middle there, but a little bit towards the latter end. We have North America, who rates Mika a lot higher. So Mika is almost cracking within the S tier category, right? She's like 3.9, 3.8, the gatekeeper of the A tier territory. We value her a little bit higher, and I think that's because Mika's been on the radar for us for like quite some time. Mika Carmine, and just like Mika as a character in general, is a character that I think people have been paying attention to since like 1.5, because I remember seeing some players mess around with her back then, and Mika and Carmine are still very relevant in our meta like to this day, and like the team has only gotten better, so it really makes sense that Mika is very high up on the North American list, and then in the world she's just kind of within the middle here. So very differing opinions here, I think, just due to the isolated experience North America has had with Mika and just our overall ideology with Mika. It makes sense that she's here. I also find it extremely ironic that for the North America list, Jubei is like right at the bottom of the S tier, and then Mika is just like 1 slot over, and I think that's very fitting. They're both like anti-meta, pretty good at gap closing, counter pick, fast type of like playstyle characters that really serve their purpose within our metagame here in America. All right, and then last but not least, when it comes to characters that start with the letter L or characters that start with the letter M that are underplayed, potentially undervalued, we have one of my personal favorite characters in the game, Mitsuru Kyuja. So this character, like, she is underplayed, and I have no idea why. Like, when it comes to like a Jubei being underplayed, I understand there are like layers of difficulties to the character, kind of getting used to his like combo routing, and just really just getting used to controlling the character too. He doesn't really play similarly to anyone else. I can understand. Mika, you know, controlling the wolf cannon, Mika missile type of arcs, and just kind of getting used to her combo routing as well can be a bit weird. And the way that she counterplays some of the top tier characters does require a little bit of exposure to those type of team comps to make sure you're not just like mindlessly spending meter, and that you're like actually performing the counterplay properly. Whereas like Mitsuru, okay, like I have her in 4, but like I don't really know why she's not played too much anymore. Obviously, like she was the queen in like 1.5 and like in like earlier versions where she had her, you know, jump cancelable JB on block and like the staggered 2A hitting like 3 times or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like the nerfs that she received and compounded with where she sits within today's meta, in my opinion, like I think it's so crazy that she is just not really played much. Like there are not a lot of Mitsuru players within not only America, but like really the world. Like when I look around, you don't see her very much represented in tournament play at all. I think it's a bit of a shame. She has some extremely solid team comps within 2.0. Mitsuru Akihiko is a certified Hood classic. It's obviously good. Mitsuru Narukami, I think Grover plays that team. And that's something that they've been playing for quite some time, and they've shown that it's even capable within a 2.0 meta. Mitsuru Batista is my jam. That team is still good. Mitsuru Hyde and Mitsuru Yuzu are kind of like Mitsuru teams of the past, but they're still functional. Like they're still functional and like great teams. It's just like no one's playing her. Like I don't know. There's even some other teams, in my opinion, that have potential that like just haven't really been fleshed out. Like Mitsuru Akatsuki, Mitsuru Susanoo is so stupid. I think Ronaldo was playing that team for a bit, but I don't think Ronaldo's really grinding BBTAG anymore. Mitsuru is just like, there's so much potential in this character, and she is just kind of like being overshadowed for some reason, and I think it's truly a shame. But like, it's not like she's being slept on, right? I think that most people agree with the sentiment that Mitsuru is strong. When we look at the other lists, I mean, Mitsuru here, pretty comfortable within the A tier. 3.5 is kind of like the score that she was given there. Within EU, a little bit higher, I believe, in comparison to Asia, right? But still kind of within like that 3.6 territory. North America, actually, deservedly so, has her within the S column. She's like in a 4.1. I'm really thankful that that was the case. I mean, the big difference maker is I don't think many people in America rated as her a 3, or like I probably no one rated her as a 3 in America, right? It was probably 4s and 5s. And sheesh, like I would even say like rating her as a 5 isn't even that far-fetched. If somebody has that opinion, I would love to hear like their reasoning around it, but I'm not immediately disgusted by that ideology. And when it comes to the world, Mitsuru almost inching into that S category, seeing it like a 3.7-ish in the A column. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame. Like, her grounded buttons are crazy. Her round start, even though like it's 1 frame slower, it still invalidates so much of the roster in the game, especially have, you know, the proper lockdown assists. Mitsuru Batista, you know, the vibes, like super hard to deal with, whether it's 5A, JA, it's just all like messed up stuff. Dwa, like the amount of screen it's able to cover relatively safely, especially followed up with assists, is insane. She has great air control with the JA disjoint. I don't want to spend too much time on her because it just makes me sad that she isn't played so much, but I'm trying to let y'all know she's still good. Like, just use her. However, I mean, if I'm going to be transparent, I do have to say that it's a bit hypocritical of me to say that about the character, because there actually was a point in time where I thought I was going to drop the character. I was pretty much done with playing with Mitsuru going into 2022. I was like, I'm only going to play Hilda Batista, and I'm only going to play Yumi 9. The only thing that brought me back to Mitsuru was going to Heaven or Hell and playing Myth, and Myth was playing Heart Narukami, and I was really, really annoyed fighting Heart. I'm like, dude, I'm getting tilted fighting this character. And I was like, if only there was a way. And sure enough, I started playing Mitsuru. I'm like, yo, I got this JA. She's back. Like, she's back. Yo, I gotta play Mitsuru Batista against Myth. Like, because I cannot stand fighting this character. But it wasn't because I stopped playing Mitsuru because I thought she was weak. It was just because within the matchup spread that I had for Hilda Batista and Yumi 9, I didn't really see a slot for her. But now I still do play her for, one, to knowledge check people. It can be a good, like, tester to get my Mitsuru Batista game plan started and see how conscientious people are of the instant overhead, or how conscientious they are of like beating me in ground game and like testing them there. But also, 2, she does deal with some of the more annoying high flyers pretty well due to her disjoints and like phenomenal JA. So that's just my 2 cents. Okay, next we have Naoto Shirogane. So I was very conflicted on this pick. I didn't know if she belonged as a 3 or a 4. I'm looking at the list and like, maybe I didn't put her in the right slot. I put her as a 3, but look, this is where we need BoJack. We needed half scorers. We should have been on a 1 to 10 spectrum, because if it was a 1 to 10 spectrum, I would have put her as a 7. But since we had a 1 through 5 spectrum, I was just torn in between 3 and 4, and I put her as a 3. Naoto Shirogane is extremely strong. Like, she has always had the potential of the mark as a win condition. Of course, it's a little bit weaker in 2.0 given the changes that they made to meter gain after like spending a super. But the thing about Naoto Shirogane is like, although like the mark win condition is a little bit less frequent and honestly not even really something that needs to happen in order for her to win, that's the strength of the character, is like just what she does within her core kit with like her zoning, her trap play. Hell, she has like double fangs that can create unblockables similar to Akatsuki. She's good. Like she's a very great character. Not to mention her assist potential is also great. Like all 3 of her assists are like super good in my opinion. 5P is very addicting to use, covers some good space and is pretty easy to follow up on hit. 6P gives phenomenal lockdown even from full screen positioning, and is once again extremely easy to hit confirm. Yeah, I think her damage is above average. She does have the parry DP that also shoots the shot full screen, so that has some situational niche usage, which is nice. Yeah, she's great. So like Merkava is the one that I'm looking at. That's like, yo, that's my, if I had one regret in life, it's putting Merkava as a 2. If I had a second regret, it would be putting Naoto Shirogane as a 3. Like maybe she should be in 4, but I don't feel too bad about it. I don't think it's too big of a robbery. Placing her in 3 doesn't feel that awful, but let's see how everybody else feels. So Asia has her within this 3 territory, high 3, so this is like 3.6, 3.7-ish. EU has her like in the exact same spot. I'm telling you, Asia and EU are so similar in a lot of their opinions. North America also has her pretty much in the exact same slot. Naoto Shirogane is like one of the most agreed upon placements worldwide, it seems like. Global is also like just slightly lower, so that all that tells me is that everybody was in the same divide as me of just like not really sure where to put her within the 3 or the 4s, and so she ended up giving quite a bit of 3s and quite a bit of 4 volts as a result of it. I think she's leaning more towards 4 because in all of these she's over the halfway mark of the A cutoff. So like if you cut it off, like I'm not gonna actually do the math, but like maybe it's like somewhere right here, she's in the top half, right? If you cut it off somewhere right here, she's in like the top half. If you cut it off essentially like here, she's in the top half. And if you cut it off like here, she's in the top half. So that means that the majority of people who took the survey did vote her as a 4. And yeah, I was completely beside myself of where to put her. But at the end of the day, her being within like that 3.54 territory is like where she fits, and she is exceptionally strong in 2.0. All right, and then we gotta hop over to Naoto Kurogane. Now, before I place this character, I do want to make it clear that I hate this character. His mix-up potential is very, very obnoxious to deal with. Very fantastic active switch capabilities available. The type of Oki that Caterate sets up with the tech catch setups with a lockdown assist are extremely difficult to deal with. I also just given within like his embedded frame traps, those make for very tough to block and kind of hard to escape active swap tools as well. 4P is just, dude, I really, one thing I said I've been playing Batista for the longest. One thing I always liked about Batista is that she had her 4P and it was unique. Like I liked just her, waving to the sky and like pointing the laser beam was just anti-air control within that exact diagonal range, and it was something that only she did. And then like Kurogane had to enter the chat, and my life hasn't been the same since. I don't like this character having that tool. And yeah, he could also set up sound situations with his 6P. When I first saw his 6P, I thought it was kind of a meme. It seemed like it was too slow for it to be of any value, but I was like completely wrong. Like that's just actually very good. But yeah, Kurogane, I placed him in 4. It's just an exceptionally solid character. We've seen so many different types of approaches to this character as well. The Caterate style with the Kurogane Akatsuki. I know that Kurogane Yumi was another team that was really making the rounds as is actually insane. Like that team is super good. We've seen Kurogane Weiss. We've seen Kurogane Ragna. Kurogane just has like a multitude of teams that he seems to fit on because the way that he plays BBTAG at its core is so strong. His support potential is not bad, and he packs a punch. He freaking hurts. He's so, I hate fighting the character, or maybe I just hate fighting Caterate, but don't tell him. Going into Asia, it looks like they have Kurogane pretty much solidly on the 4.0, and I think that's fair. That makes complete sense to me. EU has Kurogane a little bit higher. It's kind of like 4.1 territory, meaning that there are some people that rated him as a 5. Kurogane in America also within the 4.2, 4.3 realm, so some people may have rated them as a 5. Within global, kind of like right at that 4.0 territory, so no one's rating him a 3. He's a super strong character, in some eyes maybe contender for one of the best. Although he's like a rushdown type of character, just the range that he is able to cover with the blood edge type of normals and the 4P, he's just so capable. He's like so good. I can't stand him. Okay, so Hilda was probably going to be the most polarizing character for this format. Neo was also probably going to be one of the most polarizing characters in this format, right? Neo has had such an interesting trajectory within the context of BBTAG because the sentiment for the character, I would say for like pretty much between like 2019 and late-ish 2021, maybe even like mid-ish 2021, is that the character is like bottom 5, like just like not good, not enough damage. Everyone's saying that like her mix is like extremely fake, just a trash character. I'm not saying that these were my personal feelings. I'm just saying rhetoric that I've heard throughout the years since Neapolitan has been in the game. However, the narrative around her has definitely changed with time, thanks to the efforts of, you know, Neo players that are still playing her to this day. I mean, you have players like Nezu and Routing and True Care that have definitely been showing off what this character is capable of. Culpable, when Culpable was playing, also really showing what Neo was able to do. And like just her sandwich potential and just like the cross-up situation that she creates, and also just her solo mix-up potential. It's good. Like, she has great fuzzies. Really the big emphasis of this character is her air-to-air game. I mean, her ability to throw out buttons that fast and control that amount of space, and then chain you down to the ground should you block or convert out of the air-to-air hits if you get hit, so long as the Neo player is capable of doing so. It's just phenomenal. She is such a nuisance to try to control space against. I had some sets that I think it was True Care. It was either True Care or Ralting that I was playing against when I was like kind of first learning Hilda Batista. I remember I streamed it. I don't have the archive of it, but I was telling chat to yell at me and say cringe anytime I got air-to-aired by Neo, because literally the ideology that I came through in the matchup is just like, yeah, like I shouldn't try to air-to-air the character. She's just like too good at like controlling that air game. Like what am I going to do? Like there's really, it's actually so troll trying to air-to-air her given the space that she's able to create, or like space she's able to control. And like, not only that, the JA, it's like this big sweeping button, nice little disjoint, and the recovery is fast. So oftentimes you see Neo go to this guy, JA, just like, you know, throw a couple of them out there. Don't come into the zone. And yeah, I think the character has shown off to be very capable. Now, I'm not under the belief that she's top tier. I don't even know if that I would say that I'm under the belief that she is high tier, but I got her in a 3. I think she is definitely a valuable character, extremely tricky character, kind of within like that specialist niche territory, similar to like Izayoi or Blake, right? Just like if you want to put in the work, this character can definitely win. The character can definitely be consistent. She can definitely be threatened. There are situations that the character can put you in that are extremely terrifying to block, and you just desperately want her to get away from you. Asia, I'm sure, has Neo a bit higher than us. Where is she? Where's Neo? I guess she's supposed to be like whoa, okay, dude, like, so this literally, I'm not gonna cut that, I'm gonna leave that in, because literally, like, I feel like the North American opinion of Neo is so low and has only been recently getting better, that as I'm scanning this list, I'm like literally scanning A, I'm literally scanning B, and I'm just like, where is she? Dude, she's like top 10 in Asia. Like, it makes sense. They have Routing and they have Nezu and they have like a bunch of other Neo players that have been putting in a lot of work, so it makes sense that they value her higher. But I just found it funny that like I couldn't even find the character when I went to the Asia list. EU, yeah, they're gonna have her lower. This is more of what I was expecting, right within like that 3.5 territory in A. That's funny. North America, we have her even lower. In fact, we probably have her the lowest. Yeah, we have her the lowest. It's just within like that 3.0 territory. And I mean, yeah, this is just a product of like, on a global scale, we definitely valued Neo the least, and I think we still value Neo the least. But this is definitely an improvement for Neo, no matter which way that you want to slice it. Because I'm telling you, early opinion of this character was not favorable at all. And now, like, I think people are definitely come around to the character, myself included. I think she's quite strong. And now we get to who is probably one of my favorite characters to play in BBTAG, if not like the favorite character for me to play in BBTAG. I really, really like this character, but I gotta be completely objective about the one and only Nine the Phantom. So I struggled because there were parts of me that did want to rate Nine as a 5 she is so good. Like, you're talking like she has solo unblockables that she's able to set up. EX Fist is just oh my gosh, it's like a slur. Using that EX maneuver literally feels like you're just spinning a bar to like say a slur during like the middle of a match. It's so messed up, the full screen snipe, and also just like the assist sniping capabilities that move has, and then you get a full combo. Her damage is like really high. Her corner carries is like absurd, and just her overall game plan I think is super functional. It's so functional that the character is actually extremely capable of fighting 1v2 scenarios. Like, just think about how many matches you've seen of like high level 9 players when their assist character dies and they just have 9, and how long those matches take. Like, don't think about like who wins at the end, just think about how long that match takes before that 9 dies or wins. It's always like going down to the wire and taking a really long time, unless she's just like suffocated and like she can't guess right, because she is, even just by herself, has a way of completely slowing the game down. And it's like due to her spells, like having the level 1 ball and the level 1 mirror completely changes it forces interaction out of your opponent, to where like if you have level 1 ball, all of a sudden you have this slow traveling ball she can follow up around. You have to act around that, right? If she puts out the level 1 mirror, if you're somebody that's playing with a lot of like projectiles, all of a sudden you can't play like a projectile game anymore. You have to act around that. So the fact that she gets to play around with those types of things, basically calling assists for herself, makes her super competent as a 1v2 or even or 1v1 or even like a 1v2 comeback type of character. And then when it's a 2v2, she's even enabled on top of that. The more I talk about her, it may sound like that she is somebody that belongs in the 5 tier, but I placed her as a 4 because, like, although she does have all like that good stuff surrounding her, I shouldn't even say good stuff, it's like phenomenal stuff that's surrounding her, she doesn't come without her flaws. She can get mauled, and like there are people, or like there are characters that can kind of lock her down or be a nuisance for her to deal with when it comes to the air-to-air department, and just not really allowing her to get the space control going. She herself is pretty slow. She's like a methodical zoner type. Now, like, of course, I'm not gonna be stupid. Like, she has like the dash, and she has all these other tools and fantastic disjoints that she can use to cover space and still make it tough for the opponent to get in. But at the end of the day, she is like on the slower end of characters, so she gets kind of overwhelmed by some of the speedy types of characters. Like Mika, of course, is obviously going to have some great capabilities against 9. Jubei is another one of those characters that will probably have some pretty good capabilities against 9. She does fight some of the top tiers very well. I think she's really like pretty good against Adachi. She could also be pretty good against Yumi, you know, in terms of how she's able to check those characters and overall fight against them. But I don't think she's so good to the point where I would call her a counter pick for those characters. She just has a pretty even matchup with them. So yeah, I think that like the reason that I have her in 4 is like, one, she's not like super meta defining, although she is like extremely good. She isn't really like dictating the meta of any scene that I have seen thus far. 2, she does have some like countermeasures that I feel like people have essentially learned how to play against this better with time. In like early 2.0 days, like she looked like a miss. She looked like she would be like that 5 value of character, but nowadays she is extremely terrifying. Like she can still like snowball the game to the finish, and like she does invalidate quite a few characters as well, in my opinion, just given the toolkit that she has. But she's not like, I would not have her on the same tier as like Adachi, Carmine, or Chie. As far as what everyone else thought, Asia has 9 within like the low 4 territories, like 4.1. EU has 9 like at a solid 4.0. NA has 9 a little bit higher, which means there were some, yeah, she's like at 4.5. So that means that like there were quite a few players that actually ranked her as a 5. And global has her like the 4.1 territory. Yeah, having North America rate 9 this high does make sense because I do think she's had the most prominence in America. You know, we've had Bipa and Orie and Lokuya, just to name a few, like really strong high-level 9 players that have shown what she's capable of. So maybe with us having that much exposure to the character and knowing what she's capable of, it did incline some people to put her within the 5 territory, which I don't think is off the mark. I'll put it this way. I think I picked up 9 in 2021. If you had asked me before I picked up 9 where I had 9 rated as, I would probably say 5. I've actually been on, you could ask Paul Lay about this if you want to. Paul Lay is the one you want to ask about this. I have thought that 9 was like the most slept on character in BBTAG since like 1.5, even before she got like her 2.0 overhaul. Like I thought the character was so good and so significantly undervalued and underplayed. Like, I've always thought that she had like extremely great potential. Then when I saw the 2.0 changes, I was like, like I just like super doubled down on it. I was just like rant to Paul on the all the time to say like, yo, 9 secret top tier, bro. Like, I'm telling you, like, this character is cracked. She's so stupid. And so like I wasn't wrong fully. She is like definitely an insanely good character, but not as good as I was prefacing. I always think that she was gonna be like secret top 1. I don't think that is the case, and I think the most experience I've been able to get to come to that conclusion has been through playing her firsthand. But holy crap, like, she's so good and she's so fun. 9 Yumi is like one of my favorite teams to play in this game. I won't rant about 9. We'll end the 9 section right there. All right, the 1 section is a little bit lonely, so I want to you know, give Kanji and Makoto some company. It's going to come in the form of something that kind of hurts me because I like this character, but it's going to be in the form of Noel Vermilion. She's just kind of lost in the sauce. Like, I feel like she is just really not able to execute her game plan extremely well within a BBTAG setting, right? Obviously, she has like part of her drive from CF or like mainline BB within BBTAG to really try to play around reading what the opponent is doing on defense or as a countermeasure to get her out of drive and counterplay that, whether it be through like projectile invul, low crushing, overheads, lows, things like that. She's like extremely read based, but the issue is like, one, with like push blocking being a factor within BBTAG, it's really easy to like get her out and keep her out. Like, she could get out and like stay out and like have a really tough time navigating space without like some phenomenal reads. Not only that, her mix-up potential is not that scary. Like, when she's in, yeah, okay, she has the high, the low, she has the command grab, I suppose. But I'm even in the rare instances where she is in, you know, so long as you're aware of what options that she has, I never really feel all too threatened or bothered about Noel actually getting in and doing a mix-up. And like, not only that, team constructing with this character is like nightmarish because her assist kit is just pretty underwhelming. Like, so I actually used to play Noel when I first picked up Mitsuru. This is way back, like 1.3. There are very few people offline in WNF and like Danger Time that have seen this team because I have chosen a tournament. But like, I actually used to play Mitsuru Noel, and I was so annoyed with like the inconsistency of 6P, because 6P is an assist that you look at and like you think it should be amazing. Like, it's multi-hitting projectile boomerang like assist that kind of like absorbs the opponent in, but like the hitbox in it is a bit inconsistent. On hit, people can like drop out of combos you could be trying to pick up and like leave yourself vulnerable to being like minus on hit because you just completely whiffed. They recover so fast, and there have been efforts to make her 5P and 6P better. Like, they improved like some of the tracking of like the 6P, and like the 5P causes a wall bounce now. But it's like all together, like, I still think her assist kit is below average. Damage potential as well from the character below average. She's just like, she's a character who like, I actually see her as less valuable than a character like Kanji, right? Because like, Kanji also struggles to get in and struggles to stay in, but he can be pretty terrifying to defend against, and he has amazing cash out. Like, he has really, really big damage. Again, if this were a tier list, I'm saying that I probably wouldn't have Kanji and Noel in the same tier, because on the contrary, Noel, she has to work her way in. It's hard for her to get in. It's hard for her to stay in. And then once she's in, it really doesn't feel all that threatening. And yeah, it's just unfortunate because I love Noel. If you've ever seen me play in an online lobby, I've had the Noel avatar for like years, and because like it's like my favorite chibi. She's one of my favorite BlazBlue characters, but unfortunately she is not that good in the BB tag. She's not that good in the BB tag, in my opinion. So I have her as a 1. Asia actually has her in like a 2.1 territory, which is extremely interesting. That means that some people went as far to rate her as a 3, unless all these characters are tied for 2.0. We're not quite sure, but her being in the B tier as it is actually a little bit of a shock to me. EU has Noel kind of comfortably sitting within like that 1.8 territory. North America, we have her kind of like within a 1.4-ish territory, and then global, she's like solidly at 2.0. So I mean, there were some, don't take my word for it. There were some people that rated this character as a 2. We know, or like based off of like the Asia list, we can assume that there were some people that even went so far as to rate her as a 3. So there are definitely some believers of this character. It's just like personally, with my experience of like 1, trying to play the character in the past, and 2, having to fight the character in the present, because I have had to fight some Noel players. I've played against Mattel. I've played against Triple E. I've played against some of the Noel players out there, but granted, I do have to say that she does also suffer from lack of representation. There's not many Noel players out there. So it's just like not a character that you come across too often nowadays. So maybe that's an untapped potential. I don't know. Maybe this video is going to age poorly. Like the next major that I play, I'm going to get like bodied 3-0 by a Noel. Go figure. I don't know. All right. So we have to go to new. So new, I really wanted to rate as a 3. I couldn't because it's purely just based off of theory, and it's also purely based off of, if I'm being honest, Elon. Elon makes new look like she has so much potential within this meta. The assist sniping capabilities, screen control capabilities, full screen mix-up capabilities that she's able to get started almost makes me want to overlook her shortcomings when it comes to damage and meter hungry, and having some pretty like niche assists that require a bit of setup. They're not bad, they're just niche, and just overall being like a real specialist type of character, at least within this day and age. It wasn't like that before. New was actually quite common in like the 1.0 1.3 days, but like nowadays she's pretty niche. But I don't know, I see a ton of potential in this character. I have her as a 2, but like I really wanted to rate her as a 3, because like I think there's just like so many characters that she fights well. Not only that, her 5B, I think it is, like basically like the swords, the favorability that has against other projectiles seems to be heavily in her favor. Like she tends to win exchanges or nullify projectiles by using that, just from the matches that I've seen Elon play against characters like Yumi. That I think is something that is not talked about enough. New has the potential to be a pretty prominent counterplay character. It's just that like I don't think she's going to be as prominent as a counterplay character as like Jubei or Mika, because all in all, like I said, she does have her shortcomings. Her damage is pretty low. She requires a specific type of team to get going, and I don't think she is the easiest to pick up either. But she's good. She's good. There was no way I would put her in a 1, and I very uncomfortably have her in 2. I could totally see her being in 3. Asia rates new pretty high, like right, there's definitely the majority of people that had her within 3.1 territory. EU has new lower, right? So EU has lower on like a 2.9 2.8 scale. North America has her even lower, within like that 2.3 2.2 scale, which makes sense. North America does not have a lot of new players besides Moth, who is one of my favorite players to watch. They play Merkava new. I really like watching them play BBTAG. I just don't like playing against them, but I like watching them. And then we have a global, which has new like in the 2.9 territory, right? So yeah, all in all, like new, pretty varied opinions. Of course, Asia has her rated a little bit higher, and I think you could really just kind of attribute that to Elon's presence with that Hilda new team and what he's able to do with that team. But you know, it's almost like different from Hilda, right? Because like you look at Hilda and you look at new, and then you look at the Hilda new comp that Elon plays, and you're like, how much of it is Hilda, how much of it is new, and how much of it is Elon, right? And I mean, like personally, when I look at it, like I think Elon is like a cracked player, like obviously like very strong, but I don't think he's carrying Nu. You know, I don't think Nu is carrying him. I don't think Hilda is carrying him. I think he's like a extremely strong player, but I don't think that Nu is consistently doing that well as a matter of his team comps with the Nu Vatista and the Nu and Hilda, because he's like carrying the character, or like he has a passion project specialist type of approach to the character. I don't think it's fully that. I think the character is actually genuinely just good. So I can totally see how she would fit within a 3 range. It's just we don't see her. We definitely don't get a lot of exposure to her here in North America, so it's really just theory for me at the end of the day. And I didn't believe strongly enough in the theory to actually just go ahead and place her within the 3. All right, and so we have actually one of my old characters. So for those that want to know, the sequencing of my Mitsuru teams was first I played Mitsuru Noel. Then I played Mitsuru Orie, and then I dropped Orie because Orie is actually my character in Uni, and I was really grinding Unist at that time, and I didn't want to have the input overlap. And then I switched to Mitsuru Vatista. So I've actually played Orie before in the past. It's years ago, but she was a character that I had going. But yeah, we're here at Orie. Orie, very solidly a 3. She is a sword character. Due to like the disjoints that she has available, there are some instances where she can feel Mitsuru-esque, but the thing that kind of sets her apart from Mitsuru is that she doesn't really have like the long sweeping horizontal disjoint type of like buttons available in her kit. She like has a lot of angled type of buttons. She can be an air-to-air menace still, but just not from as further ranges as Mitsuru. However, like just her core overall game plan is something that I have to say is just extremely solid and like sound. Especially them giving her when they gave her the flip in 2.0, I actually thought that was a huge deal. I almost wanted to go back to the character and be like, screw it in Uni. I want to play her here, because the only thing I could think of is just like that is. They put that on a move that could be like one of her combo enders, and I was like, dude, the sandwich set of potential that this could create, and like the active switch potential that this could create by her having this in this kit, seems great. Like that seems like a fantastic new move for her to get. I've seen it be used every now and then. Lawn Lily has a couple of setups that I've seen them do with the flip in all of their Orie comps that they run, and you know, it looks extremely good. Also Tomoe. Tomoe has I think they have an Orie Hilda comp, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the sandwich potential that he's able to create with that flip plus Hilda's assist is disgusting. But yeah, I think Orie is great. There's kind of more to her that meets the eye. I've seen really out of the box usage of like her 4P is like an active swap tool, kind of like the displacement properties that gives with it lingering on the screen can be really cheap, set up some really messed up scenarios. So her assist kit, I used to think it was kind of mediocre, but now that I've seen things that you could do with 4P and 5P being a pretty decent lockdown, and 6P being pretty decent grounded snipe, you know, she doesn't have like a traditional air-to-air assist, but her assist kit is still good. But yeah, where Mitsuru outshines her is definitely going to be within the space control department, and I would think overall mix-up department as well. You know, although Orie does have a high-low game to some extent, it's not as potent. You know, her high-low comes from the J214A instant overhead special that is obviously going to be way slower than Mitsuru JB, so it can be a little bit easier to defend. But even with that, there's a couple of like safe jump setups that she can do that can be a bit tricky to defend against that I've seen Lon Lily do. And yeah, I think she's just fine. Not a 2, not a 4, just very solidly a 3. And given the opinion of everyone else, yeah, I mean, it looks like that she's just extremely solidly a 3.0 within Asia. EU has her, wow, lower. She's like 2.5. I think it's very interesting rating this character as a 2. Putting her within a 2 is like really pushing it, because she is so functional. Like there's really not really, in my opinion, too many downfalls of the character or anything that I can point as like a super glaring weakness about Orie. The anti-air assist is like, you know, if you really value having like a traditional 4P, she doesn't have that. So like, I guess if that's something that you're holding against her, I suppose, but she ain't no 2. America, you got my back, kinda. She's like a 2.9. So that means that like a couple of people voted has a 2, but probably majority gave her a 3. And then Global put her at like a 2.8, 2.7. Yeah, maybe some of the bias I have from like playing the character in the past, I just kind of personally think that she's within that 3 territory. Could be a bias thing going on here, but you know, at the end of the day, Orie is super solid. If you do want to play a sword character, rapier character, there's nothing wrong with going Orie. Okay, and now we have like, I think this is the character I have the least matchup experience against in BBTAG history. I don't feel like I've played more than 100 matches of BBTAG against Platinum. Like, she's so rare. She's such a wild card. She has the random assist. It's so difficult to kind of figure out where this character is supposed to go, because like, okay, I'll be transparent. So I put her as a 1, mostly because of like the random assist factor. It can lead to some inconsistencies, and consistency is something that I just personally really value when I'm looking and assessing like the strength of characters. And then just like when it comes to like her core kit, I don't think it is the best, but I mean, I gotta be honest, I'm not speaking from the most objective point of view when I say that. She does definitely have some quirks about her kit that are useful. Having the Mommy Circular, that trajectory that covers, can be pretty useful in terms of navigation, followed up with assists and such. She has that stupid invul float that can serve as a pretty good bait and also some pretty good approach, and just air stalling technique that is very usable. I don't know. I haven't felt too threatened by the character. I do think she is a very knowledge checky type of character. It lacks like the consistency needed to really reign supreme in the 2.0 meta that we play to this day. But again, that's just my hunch. I will not say that I'm speaking objectively about this character, because she is just extremely rare. I can only name one that I know of that is like still like playing the game, and I mean that's Faded. If Faded is even playing Platinum anymore, I don't know. Faded plays like 20 teams, but Asia rated Platinum as a 2.1. EU rated Platinum as like a 2.0. North America has her as the worst character in the game at a 1.0. And I mean, I wanna say that maybe they have her there for the same reason I have her there. I can't imagine that is the case. You know, some of the other players that were probably within this survey has been playing significantly more BBTAG, and maybe it's thought about Platinum significantly more deeper than I have. But we're not too far apart of the ideology regardless. She's kind of like within the 1.9 territory for global. She's definitely a wild card type of character, but I don't think wild card in this instance has a positive connotation. I think it has a negative connotation. But she can win a major, whatever. Everybody can. It's BBTAG. And then that brings us to Rachel. So like Rachel, I think the narrative around this character has significantly altered this year. Everyone has always known Rachel is strong. It's just that we haven't really been able to have the full display of people, because this character is an investment. She does take some time. Really kind of like the mark of a great Rachel player is their conversion ability off of hits, how they manage their resources, how oppressive the screen control can get, and just how much of the pace that Rachel is dictating. Because if she's being played properly, or if she's being played at the highest level, it looks like that she is just setting up an onslaught of like projectiles and Lobelias and Georges, and that she is just like untouchable, unstoppable, and just like really, really hard to get down, like locked down. Previously though, I think like if this list were to happen like a year ago or maybe a year and a half ago, she would be more within the 4 territory for me. But I mean, just through playing against Cake, watching Cake play, playing against Pikachu, watching Pikachu play, and just knowing what this character is capable of. I mean, even recently, Kiyomi has been picking up Jubei Rachel, and I pretty much, as soon as she popped up, just put her in 5. Like, she has completely earned that spot to be among the top tiers, in my opinion, at this point. Her mix-up potential is messed up. Like, the fact that she is able to do single, triple, double overheads, empty jump lows, and a lot of it just like unseeable. And you know, if you're establishing her with a partner that has the proper like lockdown assists and capabilities, you're just in hell. Like, it could be such a hell, like defending against this character. And like the cherry on top is like, yeah, let's say you're defending successfully against her, she's not easy to pin down. She has such good zoning capabilities. She's so hard to catch. She's so mobile. The wind is like such a good X factor for her to have within her kit. And then you get to, speaking of X factor, you get to like her Resonance 1v2 game, which is also super like messed up. Where she like takes to the sky and tosses out the farm animals. That does a ton of chip and lockdown. But that's only one way that she can get things started. She has other ways to get things started just through just her core game plan. Like she's just hard to catch. Yeah, I think all of that coming together, she is truly sitting at the top within BBTAG meta as of late. And I think she's only a character that can only get stronger from here. You know, CEO is the only major that we've been able to see Cake play at, but I would have been really interested to see a CEO Otaku with Cake's presence. I'd be really interested to see any 2023 tournaments with Cake's presence. Because Cake has been playing Rachel Batista. I mean, Cake has been like the net play monster that you find in the lobby for years. And then you play against them and you lose your pink square and you contemplate your life. That's just the how it goes playing against Cake. But it would be really interesting to see them go to more majors or any of the other Rachel players that have been like putting in work. Pikachu. I haven't even mentioned Cabbages. Yasurugi Cabbages is somebody that is like super fun to watch out of Japan. Serene Smile plays Rachel Waldstein. You know, although it's not like a super traditional Rachel comp, they do fantastic with that team. They've been getting some pretty solid wins offline and online as of late. So yeah, I think a lot of eyes are on Rachel at the moment, and she may have a significant impact on the game in the near future if she keeps rearing her head. Yeah, in Asia, top 1. They just all voted her 5. Obviously, with them having Cabbages and Pikachu, probably that is what's influencing a lot of the picks here. I think they also have somebody else that's been playing Rachel recently. I can't recall who, but I think there's multiple Rachel players out of Asia that's been kind of like dictating the meta with this character at the moment. EU has Rachel a little bit lower, so like kind of like within that 4.5 territory. There's some people in EU that voted her as a 4. America, we also have her within that 4.5 territory. There's still people that are rating her as a 4. I just don't see it. This character's a 5. I think she is so good. And then global, definitely like within like 4.9, 4.8 territory there for global. So yeah, I mean, needless to say, she is super strong. If you ask Asia, they say that she is pretty much one of the strongest. I'm sure like if they got to order, because like I gotta listen to BoJack's video, but I think that Rachel, Adachi, and Hilda are all 5s. Meaning that everybody voted for the character to be 5s. I think Seth may be a part of that as well. But if Asia were to be able to rank order this list, they would put Hilda at 1. Yeah, it does speak pretty highly that so many people rated Rachel as a 5 kind of universally across. So that means that she's pretty comfortably within Asia's like top 5. And yeah, I think Rachel's strong. All right, so now we get to a character who I also had a really tough time rating. So the thing about Ragna is, like, I was talking about Platinum. That's probably the character that I have the least amount of matchup experience against. Ragna the Blood Edge is probably the character I have the most amount of matchup experience against. Dude, you have no idea. Like, there are so many Ragna players less than a 100-mile radius away from me. I've had to play all of them within tournament sets. There's Alukanen, there's Master Chief, there's Monkey 4012, there's Lord Host of Dog, there used to be Raiden, there's I think Jonah was playing this character at one time, there's me. Like I've played Ragna. Like there's just like this character is such like SoCal, like Southern California's mascot, to where it's almost like a saturation sort of thing of just like, okay, through my experience of playing the character, through my experience of playing against the character, where are they sitting, right? When I was going through listing those names, did I even say Scrub? I don't even know if I said Yofave Scrub, but like obviously I placed Ragna in the 3, but he's definitely on that cusp of like, I wish this was a 1 to 10 scale because I'd rate him as a 7 or like a 3.5. Do I see him as the same level as Hyde? No. Do I see him as like the same level as Jin? No. Do I see him as like the same level as S? No. If I was making a tier list, I would definitely make it a point to either put him a tier higher or have it rank order to where there's a clear disparity between those types of characters. The only thing with Ragna is just like, given this format, I didn't see an opportunity for him to be 4. I don't think he's better than anyone within the 4 category, in my opinion, but he's great. He has functional Shoto type of gameplay within BBTAGs, which means that he has a pretty good active swap game. His life stealing potential is just another feather in his cap to just kind of give him a comeback potential within the game that I don't even know if he needs. In Resonance, it gets even more exaggerated, and Resonance Happy Birthday, and if that happens, you're might as well just giving him a full life bar. I feel like he has that extra spice and sauce on his kit that Jin and Hyde lack, that puts him a cut above those types of Shoto style of characters, right? He's not Narukami. We haven't talked about Narukami yet. He's not like on that Narukami level when it comes to like the Shoto style of character, but he is definitely above average. Even with where he is as an above average Shoto character, I did not think that meant he was a 4. So at the end of the day, I still had him as a 3. But I could understand if somebody put him as a 4. Just personally, I didn't think he belonged in 4. When it comes to Asia, they have Ragna here. So like in the 3.3, 3.4 range. Some people voted 3, some people voted 4. EU, they put him actually almost closer to a 4.0. So there was quite a few in EU that rated him as a 4. North America, again, really close to rating him as a 4. I think that is just due to the saturation of Ragnar players that we have that have put this character on the map, courtesy of my region. A lot of those players doing work, Scrub, of course. And then global, there he is. Global has Ragnar within like the 3.7 criteria. So like, again, like with this format, it's not perfect. This is not my tier list. I'm not saying that Ragna is of equal skill to all these characters within 3. That'd be preposterous. But I will make the distinction that I did not think it was appropriate for him to be in 4, given how I view the characters in 4. All right, we're winding down. I've been recording for a while. I don't know if you've noticed the change in background, but like I started this when the sun was out, and now the sun is not out. But let's get this done. We have Ruby Rose. Ruby. Dude, this is BBTAG's darling right here, bro. Like, this is definitely BBTAG's darling. She's been, like, top 10 forever, right? Or, like, I don't know if I would go as far as to say that she's been top 5 forever, but, like, she has been a meta-defining character since the game has dropped. Of course, there's been different parts of her kit that has changed with time due to patch notes when it comes to, like, the gun blast and teleports and, like, the things like that, but she's good. She has a very phenomenal lockdown potential with her jump buttons, very competent, very good like active switch mix-up type of game going on there. Really good lockdown when it comes to the B gun blast. That is like one of the best active swap tools around. You know, it's pretty fundamental, it's pretty straightforward, but you can't push block it. There's a gap in between that is super significant when it comes to the way that you can construct your pressure around it. It has layers, it's messed up. And yeah, her damage potential is up there. She is just a all-arounder. It's hard to find flaws within a character kit like Ruby Rose's. That's not even mentioning like her 5P having the capability of creating a sandwich situation even in the corner, which is messed up. Her 6P being a pretty functional and like great bullet assist, and then her 4P that I have a conspiracy theory that thing has invul, like it's just a glitch in the system. Like that 4P does not actually have vulnerability. She's fully invul during it because it just feels so impossible to counter poke, and she reaches so freaking high. Like I cannot stand that assist. But yeah, I don't think that across the board at this point that people would be willing to put Ruby in 5. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people put her in 4. But personally, I don't see it, dude. This character is so good. Asia rates Ruby lower. So they have Ruby within like a 3.7-ish territory. EU rates Ruby higher, so she's kind of like within like the 4.3 territory. North America, I'm just gonna go out on the hunt to say that we rate Ruby the highest. I mean, she is within like 4.7 territory, and Global has Ruby at like 4.3. And I mean, Ruby has been defining our meta for years. Like she has been played by like a lot of our best players throughout the years. She has really stood the test of time through a whole bunch of different partners: Gordeau, Yang, Ragna. Just she is everywhere. She is so adaptive. You can put her on so many teams and like create a pretty like functional and very threatening comp out of it. But her kit alone is also so consistent, so good, so immediately valuable. And not to mention that she's pretty simple to play. I'm not gonna say that like at the top level of like a scrub or monkey type of Ruby that what they're doing is easy stuff, because there are definitely some optimization and some combo routings there that separate them from like your average Ruby player. But in terms of just like getting a comfortable footing with the character and having a Ruby player, or having a Ruby that is capable of doing great things and utilizing the strengths of the character, she's pretty accessible. I don't think accessibility is something that has a huge weight on my placements here, because if it did, I probably wouldn't have Rachel in 5, because I think that's one of the harder characters in the game. But I think it's worth noting that like Ruby is one of those characters that if you just want something to play that's going to teach you how to play the game, it's an exceptional character to scale to learn the game with, that could carry you like into the high level and still have some pretty like great matchup spread, and at the end of the day playing a very phenomenal like character that excels. You can't go wrong with Ruby. I've had a couple of people, ironically, on 2 separate instances, ask me who is like the best team to learn the game with, and I personally always say Ruby Yumi. Like I think that Ruby is just a great character to scale with, a great character to learn the game with at this time, and she's just good. She's a very good top echelon character who I think completely deserves the 5. All right, and now we have Susanoo. I've been really interested in trying this character lately. I think I was ranting about Mitsuru Susanoo earlier in this video and like talking about how amazing and unfortunate that it is that that team doesn't see any play. If I were to pick up a new team, that would probably be the team that I go to, and it's just because I think it has some untapped potential that really needs to be shown. But yeah, before I go down that rabbit hole again, I have Susanoo as a 4. Susanoo definitely above average in terms of like what he brings to the table, just not quite within that 5 territory. What does Susanoo bring to the table? I mean, you have exceptional lockdown with the ground viper move. That thing is so insane. You're super locked down from his forward advancing special that's really hard to push block, is a low, so can set up for unblockables, and it's just one of the best active switch moves in the game. His assist kit is also amazing. He has 6P, which is the bullet. That thing is nuts, and it's very easy to hit from off of with the cross combo activation as well. 5P is functional, 4P is perfectly fine. His punish potential is like messed up. The amount of damage that this character gets consistently when you make a mistake is just like, you can just kiss your life bar goodbye. He is almost like one shot without even having anything in his kit that is supposed to denote him as a one shot character. Like Chie has power charge, that's supposed to make her a one shot. Akihiko has his stacks, that's supposed to make him a one shot. If we go back to Labrys, she has red axe, that's what's supposed to make her a one shot, so far as she has the momentum. Susanoo is Susanoo, and that's what makes him a one shot in some punish scenarios. Like that, I don't know. Ask Orie, bro. I don't got it. But yeah, I mean, the reasons, like from how I'm outlining it, it's kind of gassing the character up. I guess the reasons why I didn't rate him as a 5 is because he is a bit slow. So like when it comes to like his navigation around the screen, you know, he does have the rev up run. It takes a little bit of time for him to navigate around. He can get kind of bullied because he's a bit tall. That doesn't serve to his benefits because it does make him susceptible to some fuzzies. Also, I feel like he can have a tough time chasing zoners. So one of the matchups I played a lot before Heaven or Hell was actually against Monkey 4012. He was playing Susanoo Ruby, and that's when I was like learning Hilda Batista. And we had extremely polarizing matches that either like each match either took 2 minutes or 30 seconds. And if it took 2 minutes, it usually meant that I won, or at least I was dictating the pace. And if it took 30 seconds, it means that he probably won and was dictating the pace. But more often than not, like Monkey is just a skilled player, but like it should more often than not be within that 2 minute territory, because like so long as the zoner player is covering the screen and playing the game the way that they're supposed to, it's really hard for him to get in. Now he's not without some type of counterplay. He does have a full screen super. If he's in the assist like seat, he does have the 6P that so long as you know that your opponent's gonna be grounded, you could keep them locked down with that and then just like work your way in from there. But I just don't think the air-to-air game is something that he excels at. I don't think the lockdown and the chase game against like runaway or zoning is something that he excels at. But once he's in, good luck. Like 4A tick, being that plus and being that fast is stupid. Like his damage is stupid. Like his lockdown, assist potential, cross combo potential, stupid. He's also a character that makes you feel stupid when you make a mistake. Like he's so good. Asia has Susanoo within like the 4.1, 4.2 area. I misspoke. Asia has him within like the 3.2 area. EU has him within like a 3.9 area. America, he actually cracked the S tier. He's in like the 4.1, 4.2 type of area, which is where I think he belongs. Global has him teetering right near that 4.0 area, right at like a 3.9, 3.8. Yeah, I mean, I think he is so good. We'll see. I don't really want to learn a new team right now, but like if I were going to learn a new team, I really think it would be Mitsuru Susanoo. I think Susanoo is so good, and I think that team is so good, and I think his teams are so good. Ruby Susanoo, Yumi Susanoo, just Susanoo, bro. He's man. All right, so we're gonna get to a character that I have a pretty unfavorable opinion about. It's Tager. I have Tager as a 1. Not only do I have Tager as a 1, I think Kanji is more threatening than Tager is when it comes to like grappling. Tager is just so linear and just feels so limited. You know, his assist, he has the spark bolt, the upward spark bolt, and then the cross body chop. You know, spark bolt assist, it's okay, but really it's just kind of like bullet assist at the end of the day. You get your hit confirmability combo off of it. That's great. His 5P is meh. Not to mention the time that it takes for the spark bolt assist to come out definitely makes it not as valuable. He significantly struggles getting in. However, I mean, I have played quite a few sets against 4-sword Kirby Podge on the Tager Yukiko, and you know, so long as you're cracked and you're able to make the reads and you have good knowledge of like what you can armor through, what you can't armor through, you know, 4-sword Kirby makes the job look easier than it actually is with the way that he is able to navigate space. But I don't think the character is very good. He has, in my opinion, an even tougher time navigating space than Kanji does. It also doesn't help that Tager is, you really only see, I mean, I really only see 2 Tager teams in 2022. I see Tager Wald or I see Tager Yukiko. And when I see Tager Yukiko, it's Podge. Like, I don't really see Tager being played with anyone else, and I think the reason for that is because people don't want to play him. There have been some theory Tager teams that I have seen, like the Tager Hilda team is something that I've seen Diaphone, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Orie who also messed around with the team. That conceptually could be good, right? I'm also forgetting Ragna Tager. That's a team that I've seen Glint play. That's Master Chief's old team as well. But yeah, just Tager, he was already not the best in previous versions of the game. It was just like the thing that he always had going for him was like, well, Tager Wald can totally win, and Tager Wald still can totally win. But now that the meta of the game is shaping out to where it is right now, with the screen control emphasis, with the type of characters that we got in 2.0 and where Tager sits at, I don't think any of the system or any of the meta is doing him any favors at all. I don't think he's very good. So yeah, when it comes to Asia, yeah, sucks. He's like, who knows what this is? This could be anywhere between like 1.1 or 1.9, but it ain't no 2. So he's C tier. For EU, similarly, who knows what this is? But looks like he's C tier within this scope of EU. For North America, again, 1, and for global, the worst, actually. Yeah, if I were ordering, Tager would definitively be in my bottom 5. I think he would definitively be in my bottom 3. I will give a little bit of a spoiler warning and say that these are the only 5 characters that I rated as ones. So it's Kanji, Makoto, Noel, Platinum, and Tager. I do think Kanji is the strongest out of the 5 for sure. Not enough for me to want to put him in 2, but you know, I think it's worth noting that I think Kanji is strongest out of them, and I think Tager is definitely among one of the weakest. But he can win. It's BBTAG. He can win. Okay, now we have Teddy. Teddy, pretty hard to rate. So the thing about Teddy is that like Teddy has way more of a presence than in Asia than in anywhere else. One of my favorite players, Tsurume, plays Teddy. Pizza Mayo has a Teddy. And I think there are even other Teddy players in Asia that have really been pushing the character. And I know Asia's had Teddy valued quite high for pretty much the entirety of 2.0. I almost feel like within earlier North American tier lists for BBTAG, people have just kind of placed Teddy like, well, we don't really have a lot of Teddy, but we know he doesn't suck, but Japan says he's good, so just place him somewhere in like A tier. And I mean, maybe I'm telling on myself a little bit because I ended up putting him as a 4, but I can't really say I put him there as a matter of like the experiences I've had with the character, because the experiences I had with the character have been minimal. But it makes sense to me. In fact, what's funny is like, so we do have a Tager player, or not a Tager. We do have, well, this is funny. That's why he's coming up into my mind. We do have a Teddy player who plays predominantly Teddy and does compete and is very active within the community. And it's Mustache Villain. But like, Mustache Villain plays Tager and Teddy. He's probably the only person in the world that plays Tager and Teddy. He plays it exceptionally well. He is such a class act to watch. He's so exciting to play against. He does things in the game that you wouldn't even think are possible because he has like grinded that team out through and through to make it extremely threatening. We have Lant, who plays Teddy in North America as well, but Teddy just does not have that big of a presence in North American BBTAG. But just conceptually, with his 5P being as stupid as it is, it's fast, multi-hitting, and cross-ups to create the easy sandwiches. Bear Screw is insane as the assist and as the point character due to its speed and overall ground control. Teddy's damage is pretty high up. The random item factor, the fact that he gets to have that as a playstyle in a tag game, is pretty crazy. Now, granted, they did tone down his items significantly in comparison to his Persona counterpart, but it's still a nuisance and something that serves a purpose in this game to kind of bring that wild card factor to the table. I think Teddy is strong. I just don't have a lot of definitive objective reasoning to bring to it other than on paper it feels like he should be a strong character. In Asia, they have him marked extremely high, so like right almost at the 4.0 edge, really like 3.9, 3.8 territory. EU has Teddy marked within like that 3.5 territory. America kind of like within the 3.7, and global kind of within like that 3.7, 3.6 as well. Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna call Teddy weak. Like just with what Teddy has at his disposal, really would not make sense to say that Teddy's like a 2 or 1. Obviously, at least he has to be a 3. I think where the kind of issue arises, like, who's placing him as a 3? Who's placing him as a 4? Did anyone in Asia place him as a 5? Like, these are questions that I have because I feel like he is such an underrepresented but pretty polarizing pick as you go into different regions. And that's just basically due to availability of the player base. All right, and now we got to get to the Snow Sister. This is, as I've been mentioning throughout this video, the character I have played the most within BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. One of my favorite characters in the game, has stood the test of time, Batista. Batista is very solidly in the 3. Now, what type of 3 is she? Is she a strong 3? Is she a light 3? I'm getting my Anthony Fantano on. She is a super functional assist kit, like lockdown potential on her 5P is like almost bar none. I mean, really what makes it super valuable is not only the lockdown, but the 2.0 change that allows for it to give you the pop-up on hit, so it's easier to hit confirm. It's just chef's kiss. It's like I couldn't have asked for a better buff on that assist. 6P, pretty good. A huge ball, multi-hitting, travels full screen. No complaints here. And then 4P is like my beloved. That's like my beloved assist in terms of just being able to control the screen. Phenomenal anti-air assist, can really snipe some of those pesky characters out of the sky. And I can safely say it's an assist that without it, I would not know how to fight certain characters in the game. But yeah, the reason why I don't have her like in the 4 territory, her damage is pretty low. You need very specific instances in order to get like a high damage Batista combo, and even then, if not the highest damage output in the world. Her zoning is decent. I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's like super prevalent. Like the reason why I say that is like, so her zoning in a 2v2 setting is great. Like having the slow moving, if you do like TK 214A and you're, you know, cycling with beams and things like that, you can get a decent amount of payout and capitalize on some of your opponent's mistakes. That's not awful. But when you're playing that within a 1v2, you really got to get to see the zoning for what it is. And it's just very serviceable. It's when you it's when you combine that zoning with like a Rachel, or in my case with like a Hilda, but even in other cases, if you compare it with like a 9 to Phantom, or if you put the Batista zoning even with like, I don't know, a Blitztank, that's where it all starts to stack up and become really overwhelming. Because J214A being able, she has the best of both worlds. She has a projectile that she can place that lingers on the screen that she can act out of in the form of the 214A and TK 214A, and she has an instant, well not instant, but decently fast laser check that she can do, to where if you are caught at any part of the screen that she's able to cover, and she has the read, and she chooses to cover that part of the screen with laser, you're getting zapped. It's just like the payoff potential that she gets from getting that read is dependent on quite a few factors. I mean, if she's solo, getting that laser, it's just like, you zapped me. I took like, you know, not too much damage or something like that. But yeah, she also has good like mix-up game, in my opinion, because like she can be pretty threatening to defend against in a sandwich situation. 2C is a very nice active switch tool. JC is a pretty nice active switch tool. She does have full screen mix potential with laser active switch, which is extremely great. It's something that I take advantage of on my Hilda Batista comp, because I basically have full screen active switch potential both ways, which is amazing. But yeah, I think that is also another reason why I do have her within the 3 territory, is like, I think she is trending towards being more valuable in her zoning type of play in a 2.0 meta. So being played with Rachel, being played with New, and being played with characters like that, in comparison to being played on a lockdown rushdown style of team. There are some. We have Chop, who has Izayoi Batista, right? From time to time. We have a Reich who uses Aegis Batista. That's more like a more rushdown centric type of Batista style to utilize the lockdown parts of her kit. But I feel like the value of her has been placed more within what she contributes to the zoning style of comps in comparison to the rushdown style of comps. That's just my observation. I'm also omitting the Mitsuru Batista. That is definitely, I mean, extremely strong team. Like, of course, that's like an extremely strong team within like the rushdown style, but like it hasn't had too much of like a presence within the overall metagame. And I mean, maybe that's due to a lack of exposure. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't see Batista being a necessity to be put within that 4 territory. But she's extremely solid for what she is, and I have been playing this character for as long as I have for a reason. It's because she's consistent, she does what she's supposed to do well, and what she offers to a team is extremely valuable. Asia has her pretty smack dab in the middle of A, so that means she averaged like a 2.5. EU has her also kind of within the 3.5 territory. America also has her like within the 3.5-ish territory, kind of like 3.4. And global, she's like right there in the middle. So interestingly enough, that does mean that some players ranked her as a 4. And you know, this is fully subjective at the end of the day. I'm not blaming anyone for putting her at a 4. Her support kit is great. and she is able to assist a wide variety of teams. It's just like, I don't know, when I'm looking at those types of like lockdown potential and screen control potential and some of the snowballing that's able to be done, I would point more fingers at like a Carmine style of character than I would at like a Batista when it comes to overall potency and strength. But that doesn't mean that she is bad. And I mean, it also goes without saying that on the zoner side of things, she can be a freaking menace. It just kind of comes down to what you want to amplify. If you want to amplify your rush down, Batista can do a decent job at that. If you want to amplify your zonings, Batista can do a great job at that. If you want to amplify your lockdowns, Batista can do a great job at that. I think she is also a pretty beginner friendly and not a bad character to kind of learn the game with for the most part. I wouldn't be inclined to suggest her over like a Ruby Yumi, but if somebody was interested in Batista, I would say, hey, you know, that's a pretty good character to learn the game with. All right, we have somebody that I think I ranked higher than some. It's Waldstein. I put Waldstein at 3. I still think the character's great. I mean, he has... The difference between him and Tager is that he has an air dash, so he is able to navigate across the screen. And not only that, he has long-reaching normals and like long-reaching specials, long like lariat type specials that allow for him to cover space when followed up with an assist. And yeah, I mean, Wald was way more of a terror in previous patches just due to the overall nature of the game in those game states, and also due to how he functioned before some of his nerfs to like his 6P and whatnot. But he's still good. I still think that the character is super good. I think what happened is that like definitely there were quite a bit of people that were using Wald Tager, and that team hasn't like completely fallen off, but I do think it's a harder team to navigate with within the overall BBTAG landscape of today. I mean, you look at players like Isaropia, right? Isaropia is, I mean, this is a biased review because Isaropia is my local. They live in Southern California, but they don't just play Tager Wald anymore. Like, Tager Wald is their main squeeze. They're going to pull it out whenever they can, but they have come across teams and instances and stuff that's in the game to where they have to play the secondary team of Narukami Akihiko. And I think that is just coming to grips with just like, yeah, I mean, Tager and Wald in other versions of the game have been a team to where it's just like, it's team 40k, they can still win, it doesn't matter what happens, they got it. But now the game has definitely evolved into a state of just like, yeah, their matchup spread probably isn't the best. They're terrifying. Once they're in, they're terrifying, they're scary, they still have a game plan that's really hard to fight against, but there are just some matchups that are just going to be significantly harder, and it may not be worth going into. So but I think that Waldstein carries that stigma as a chip on his shoulder, when in actuality there's other teams that you can use Waldstein for. It's kind of an extreme example, but you have Serene Smile, who plays the Waldstein Rachel comp. We've also seen Akihiko Waldstein. We've seen Linne Waldstein from Noob. Scrub was recently playing Naoto Shirogane Waldstein. Like, Waldstein, what separates him from Tager is that I do think that there can be reasons that you want for him to be on your team. Whereas Tager, I don't know why you would want him on your team. Unless you're trying to like build some type of specialist comp, I don't think there's anything that Tager is offering to where it's just like, you know what, bro, I gotta put Tager on it. Whereas like Waldstein, there's lockdown potential, there's you know, as far-reaching normals if you want to like enable him or use him as an enabler. Serene Smile plays Waldstein in a very wild meat shield almost type of way to have Waldstein cover the ground while he's able to do stuff with Rachel in the sky. There's some layers to Waldstein's kit. And I just didn't see it fitting for him to be in 2. I think he's 3. I still think he's good. Asia might agree with me. They have him like right within like the 3.0, 3.1 territory. America has him within like 3.2 territory. EU has him a little bit higher within like that 3.5 territory, which means there were some people that might have rated him a 4, and global has been rated as like a 3.1, 3.0 territory. So yeah, he's solid. I don't see a reason why he would be rated 2. I think he is perfect just the way he is. All right, and then we have to get to a character that I just don't like fighting, and it's because of her round start as it pertains to fighting against her with Mitsuru, her being able to win is just annoying, and I don't think she deserves it. But it's Weiss Schnee, kind of trifecta within that trio of rapier characters that we have within the game between Mitsuru, Orie, and Weiss. What do I think about Weiss? I have Weiss in the 3 category. It's really hard to like form an opinion on this character as well, because out of the 3 between Mitsuru, Orie, and Weiss, I think Weiss has a lot of the more layered gameplay. She has the land cancel combos that really provide a pretty big differential in her potential damage output. It's very so much worth learning those routes. She has the seals that also bring a little bit of a additional layer of nuance in her approach and her mix-up potential. And she is just, I don't know, out of the 3 rapier characters, I think that she has a little bit more going on for her. I look at the 3 rapier characters as less is more. And that's why I have Mitsuru as definitely the best out of the 3 of them. Because although Mitsuru doesn't have as many layers or parts of her like kit, you know, Mitsuru has Dwa, instant overhead, her buttons, and then like if I'm feeling cheeky, I'll throw a American out there, I'll throw a Bufala, you know, the Tentera food. It's mostly a combo tool. It could be active switch as well, but yeah, like she doesn't need all the bells and whistles. If you just like take Mitsuru for what she is at her core, with like the high-low game and like her damage output and just straightforwardness of the character, it's just very obviously strong. Whereas like Weiss, because of the nuance that is there and none of it being too oppressive in my opinion, it's almost a disservice to her, because like there's just so much going on with the character. Some of it requires setup, so like she has the ice wall that she could try to put up to give her some capability of doing some zoning or putting up some more seals, but the seals, in order to get the follow-up, you gotta get the placement. And you know, if you're spending your time placing the seals, that's time that you're spending not going on the offense on your opponent. It's time that you're spending staying still. So saying that to say, you don't really have like a lot of opportunity to do that within the neutral game. And I think seals are a pretty key part of her game plan. But yeah, I think that is the reason why I would have Weiss at a 3 and say that she is like not as good as Mitsuru, is mostly due to that. It's definitely not due to her buttons. Her buttons are great. She has the disjoint, she has that JA, she has that 5A, she has that 4A, and boy do I hate fighting this damn character. But yeah, even with my personal biases aside, I do not see it fitting for her to be with them 4. Asia, they have Weiss perfectly in the center, within like a 3.5-ish. North America, I would imagine lower. Yeah, North America actually has her within 2.9. This is Europe. Excuse me. This is Europe. I'm not going to say what I was about to say. But Europe having her at 2.9 is weird. Who voted her 2? North America has her, this is more of what I was expecting. Kind of within, like, I wouldn't be surprised if she's like a perfect 3.0. If she's not a perfect 3.0, maybe like 3.1, slightly, like I think it's pretty definitively agreed upon that she's like 3. And then this is global. They have Weiss kind of like in 3.1 territory. I mean, yeah, I feel like most of the opinion around Weiss has been pretty much samey of like, yeah, she is extremely solid, capable. We've seen Hashimo, just like the amount of time and optimization that he's poured into his Orie Weiss comp is truly impressive. Ooh, we're going to my old flame. No pun intended. Yang Xiaolong. Yang was a part of the first BBTAG team. Well, technically second, because Yang was not in the game at launch. So I've been playing BBTAG since launch. I had to have a team before I picked up Yang. That team was Hyde S. I played it briefly, and then as soon as Yang came out, I dropped Hyde S and I started playing Yang Batista, and I played that team for quite some time, pretty much from like whenever Yang dropped up until like Evo 2019, so a little bit over a year. And then after that, I still played her sparingly. Right now I don't really play her much at all, besides a couple of meme comps that I have. Shout outs to Yang Adachi. I don't think that team is good, but I do think it's fun. But yeah, memeing aside, Yang, I put it 4. She's almost like, Yang kind of reminds me of like Doomsday from Injustice or something like that, right? To where like there are quirks about her kick as it relates to the armor and semblance and just what she does that feels like it should be gimmicks. And if you're not careful, if you're not playing her properly, yeah, those quirks about her kit can be exposed as gimmicks. But like, they're strong gimmicks. Like 5B, JB, and 2B, they're good. They're good. Of course, like, you know, 5B loses to lows. Of course, like, she takes like a good amount of damage when she's absorbing the blows. But yeah, I think that this character enables you to be able to play that head ass, and that the head assery is actually good, especially when it comes to her best teams. Yang Carmine goes without saying. The unblockable looping nature of that team is fantastic. Also, at the core, that team is like not bad even outside of the unblockable presence, because Carmine has a good amount of support potential he can give Yang, and Yang's damage output is not really it's no slouch, you know, it's pretty good. Yang Ruby similarly can be a complete like rush down menace type of squad. Has been great since day one and just haven't skipped a beat since. sister tearing it up out there. They're still a strong team. So yeah, just giving her team spread, and also like, of course, it has to be said, within like the screen control meta, where does she fit in? Decent. I mean, Burning Gold is a full screen check super that she does have available. It's not the easiest for her to kind of like traverse across space. There can be a little bit of struggles there, especially if you're not playing your cards right. Like if you are haphazardly doing JBs, or so help you God, if you're trying to use 214A to get across and you're using it a little bit haphazardly, she can get punished pretty greatly. But if you're just patient, you know, you do have Firecracker, not a bad air projectile assist that's available to you to help you traverse space. She's more well equipped than some of the other brawlers when it comes to the way that she's able to navigate around space, in my opinion. So with that, I think she's a 4, but I think opinion's going to be pretty spread. I think Asia, if I'm not mistaken, values her a little bit lower, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were some people in America that might have put her at 3. So yeah, Asia has Yang a little bit on the lower side of the A tier, meaning that she averaged like a 3.1. EU has her a little bit on the higher side of A, where she's valued as like a 3.8-ish. What? Well, no, that just means that like she's probably an even 4.0. Like, probably she is an even 4.0. The majority of people probably voted for her as a 4, with extremely slight variance of people that put her at a 3, if any. So that makes sense. Yeah. And I mean, just given like the overall impact Yang has had on the metagame here, you know, one of the strongest teams, or one of the most prevalent teams that we have here being Yang Carmine being in the fold, it makes sense that she's here. Originally, I was shocked, but then I was just like, wait, that doesn't mean that she is a 5. That means that she averaged a 4.0. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Global, 3.8-ish. So Yang's solid. There's even some comps that I haven't even mentioned, like RNGG has the Yang Akatsuki comp. That is stupid. Team is really, really good. And there's even other comps that I've seen Yang be utilized in. I mean, such as like Yang Yumi, Yang Narukami, Yang Akihiko, Yang Chie we've even seen before. Yang Adachi. Don't play it. Don't play it. I'm telling you, don't play it. All right, Yosuke Hanamura. Man, I kind of undersold this character. He's on that Ragna tip, where like this format doesn't do him any favors when it comes to what my actual opinion of him is. But even when I look at what I have spread here, Yosuke probably should have been, maybe. Nah, actually, I think I should have placed Yosuke in 4, but I placed him in 3. He's annoying. Has that kind of high flyer, high mobility type of gameplay that Heart can offer, that Hazama can offer, but he can play it a little bit more in a stalling type of way. He can slow down the game actually when it comes to his mobility rather than speed it up. You know, speeding it up is something that he is capable of doing, but him having that duality to his playstyle with his movement, it can be extremely tricky and extremely annoying to try to contend with. He has great damage output. He has phenomenal tech chase mix-ups that are available with the way that he gets his knockdowns. Super stupid 6P. I hate that assist. It's so good. Full screen, sweeping, multi-hitting assist that gives quite a bit of hits done when it makes contact, and quite a bit of blocks done when it makes contact as well. I hate it. It's persona based, but I don't like that assist. 5P is fine. 4P is good, actually. Yeah, overall, I think he is just someone that you don't look forward to fighting, or at least I don't look forward to fighting, because it's just like, yeah, if it's a Yosuke, I'm really going to have to either lock him down immediately to make sure that he can't control the pacing of the neutral, or like once he is controlling the pace, just figure out what he's trying to do with it. Is he trying to go wild and out, or is he going to play that slow, non-committal moonsault type of game plan of like what's going on? But he's really good, and he has some good teams within like the 2.0 landscape. You know, there's Yosuke Seth, there's Yosuke Adachi, that I think there's like 9 players in NA that all play that team, and they're all under the age of 18. You have Yosuke Yumi, which I think is actually that's like an unspeakable team. Like I don't even want to talk. That team is disgusting. The restand potential of that team and some of the mix-ups they get is it makes me sick. Ragna Yosuke is something that we've seen. Yosuke's solid, dude. Yosuke's solid. But yeah, Asia, they put Yosuke here. So yeah, he was like within the 3.8 territory. EU has Yosuke higher, kind of within like that 4.0 territory. I think they have like don't they have a couple of Yosuke players that are super good? North America, our Yosuke is placed here, kind of like in 3.8, 3.7, and global looking at like the 3.9 territory. So obviously strong. I think actually majority of people based off of this data voted Yosuke as a 4. And looking back at my list, I probably should have had him as a 4, but it is what it is. All right, Yunarakami is a 5. Yunarakami is a 5. In fact, we kind of have quite a few 5s coming up, and Yunarakami is one of them. Probably one of the most stable and consistent characters in the game. I mean, man's has persona displacement, be dispense in the mids, extremely strong lockdown, pretty great rush down, good throw bait potential. The IAD back JB is like phenomenal, even able to bait out some DPs. Easiest safe jumps in the world off of his basic BNBs. Great active switch potential, good sandwich creation potential. Is one half of one of the best teams in the game, between Adachi and Arakami. It just really can't be stated enough how good he is. EX moves are also great. His EX Zeo as a displacement tool and just as an overall plus frames tool, a turn stealing type of maneuver is cool. His damage is above average. It's just like, what more could you possibly want out of Yunarakami? He is just so good, and he's so flexible. I feel like there are a lot of different types of characters that I've seen Yunarakami be used with within this 2.0 landscape, even outside of Adachi. Lon Lily has been playing a Narakami Yumi comp, that's Ron Rose. We've seen Narakami Ragna come into the fold thanks to Awukanen. Narakami Hilda is something that I saw Zankoku experimenting with, and that team seemed kind of crazy. Orie, although I think Orie is kind of done with tag right now, they have constantly teased the idea of going like Narakami 9, and I think that comp is good. I've seen Narakami Susanoo, I've seen Narakami Yang. Like, Narakami is another one of those like almost like Ruby-esque, like super flexible characters, and just given the way that they play BBTAG, you're really not you're not making a losing decision by putting Narakami on your team, is the way that I want to put it. You're making a winning decision. I can't imagine Narakami's not going to be like in S for all of these lists, and beyond that, I can't imagine that Narakami isn't going to be like within the top 5 or top 10 at least. I mean, here, oh, never mind. Asia is in the chat. 11. That means some people voted that was a 4. Y'all capping. EU. All right, thank you, EU. EU has him at like the 6th territory. North America also has it within the 6th territory, and global has him. Basically, Asia's capping. That's all it comes down to. We literally, the entirety of the world agreed that, like, yeah, Narukami, he's kind of within that top 5 territory or hinting at it. And that's just because of a couple people that voted him as a 4. But the majority of people have voted him as a 5. Literally, the entire world is in agreement on that statement, except for Asia. Asia's on that pack. Asia's smoking that pack. To have Narukami this low. But I get why their Narukami representation is not as, like, Narukami is like a meta defining character for us here in North America. I don't think they have that many Narukami players. I can really only think of one Narukami player in Asia, and that would be Okada Rainmaker in Korea. But who else plays Narukami there? Like, I feel like that's not a character that I see them play very often. So, you know, they'll see the vision. They'll reach out to the truth eventually. Yukiko. So I think I said earlier in the video that I have no more characters in the 1 category. I feel like I skewed some results in North America with where I placed this character. Now, okay, hold your horses. I didn't place her as a 3, but I did place her as a 2. I did place her as a 2. And me placing her as a 2 actually makes me feel bad about where I placed Kanji. Because if I placed Yukiko as a 2, I probably should have placed Kanji as a 2 as well. But I digress. Just based off of the development of this character, based off me playing against this character, based off me playing this character, just based off of how this character hypothetically works and what her win condition is, I don't think she is in a place where we can, like, definitively call her the worst character in the game anymore, or like among some of the worst characters in the game. Like, I don't think she's bottom 5. She's in the 2 category for a completely different reason. She's actually, like, most similar to Labrys in why she's in the 2 category. So she too has a win condition that can be one-shot-esque in the form of fire levels. Now, fire levels require quite a bit of enabling and building upon if you want that to be your win condition. You're going to need to have, like, a Hilda or an Adachi or Yumi on your side in order to have that be a win condition that you aim for. You can try to gradually build them up throughout a match. That can happen, and you could reach like 9 stacks or 7+ stacks that way. And, you know, that's not too bad. But ideally, you know, going for the stacks as soon as possible and having it be a factor within, like, a comp of somebody that's able to enable that, even like Waldstein can do it hilariously enough, is ideal for her. And that's a win condition that she has available. It gives her a meme amount of damage. She can become a little bit of like a one-shot character, and it makes her resonance comeback potential kind of like a meme as well, because so long as you're able to find the space for it, so long as you're able to control the neutral well enough for it, with her decent zoning, you can really chip your character or chip your opponent down to just being like a hit away from winning, and like being a hit away is pretty significant. So her having that available as a very measurable, attainable, doable, and somewhat threatening win condition, in combination with her assist kit being decent. 4P leaves a little bit to be desired. It has a hitbox at least. It does heal. The hitbox is not the best. It's definitely not a great anti-air assist. Relying on your life with Yukiko 4P to anti-air for you, you got more guts than me, because I simply would not. But for what it is, it's okay. At least it has a hitbox. 5P, pretty standard. And then 6P does have some situational usage. Like, although it has some pretty long startup, it covers the sky. So, can be used to air to ground pretty well. And you can duck it while you are on the ground. But I think what some people may overlook in that is that if you are ducking Yukiko 6P, that means that you're staying still. And Yukiko 6P is an assist. So, like, if you are staying still while the Yukiko 6P is above you, that means you're liable for the point character to do I mean, essentially whatever they want, and you're gonna have to counterplay that, right? If they're gonna run it to you, if they're going to try to jump over you, if they're gonna try to create a sandwich, you know, whatever they're going to do, Yukiko 6P is actively influencing your decision making in that situation if you're trying to crouch under it and have it whiff above you. And so I think it's significant in that regard. It doesn't get as much praise as it deserves. And yeah, I just think that despite her obvious shortcomings, her buttons leave a lot to be desired. She's just awkward. She has a button dedicated to fans, which means like the only like normals that you have are your A buttons and then your C buttons. And she just has a super weird kit. Her non-fire level damage can be low, can be pretty disappointing. So she is kind of like a gimmick character in a lot of senses, that like in order for her to really like level up and be potent, it does take a bit of investment, a bit of craftiness of how you get those fire levels going. But I think her one shot, or even just like her overall scope of becoming a 9 level or 7+ fire level character in an average BBTAG match is attainable if you're building around it. And I mean, she has some pretty decent comps that allow for her to do so. I would say it's at least as threatening as Labrys, who I consider them to be counterparts. They're sharing a tier, and I have Labrys in 2, so therefore I have Yukiko in 2. I don't have her in 1, and I don't think if I was creating a formal tier list, I would have her in bottom tier. I don't think that's true. Asia almost disagrees fully. They have her like, or actually no, they have her like in 2.1, or like 2.0. So like there were quite a few people that voted her as 2 in Asia. EU has her low. Like, EU has her at like 1.3-ish, maybe even 1.0. We don't know how much of a tie there is here. NA also has her low, like in like the 1.8, 1.7-ish territory. Again, I think I skewed this data a bit with me placing her at 2, but who knows? Global has her in the 1.5-ish territory. So yeah, I know for a fact there are a lot of people that very passionately put her at 1, but I disagree. I think she's 2, no higher than 2. She definitely has flaws. It's definitely a niche style of BBTAG that she plays, and I don't think it's like foolproof. It's not going to work in every single matchup. She is like not the easiest character to play, even as it is. She's definitely a specialist type of a character, but I think she's good. Or no, I think she is not bottom tier. But who knows? Maybe she could win it. It's BBTAG. Maybe she could win a major. I don't know. All right, we're hopping over to Yumi. All right, so hold on now. All of my 1 slots are cleared. All of my 2 slots are cleared. We have Yumi, Yuzu, and Seth left. Where are they going? We'll see. Yumi, I can let you know that she's at the 5. She's at the 5. Yumi has had an interesting trajectory throughout her BBTAG 2.0 lifespan. There have been instances where I think that overall viewpoint of her, some have said that she is the best character in the game. But I think recently that sentiment and overall mindset has diminished quite a bit. Now, she's stupid. Let's not get it twisted. She's stupid. Her frame data is insane. 5A is 5A my goat. You gotta love 5A. It's just the dopamine effect of like hitting a 5A counter hit on your Abare from that 6 frame button is just, it's beautiful. Her damage output is not only crazy, but she has access to doing types of damage in terms of unburstable and scaling that no one else can really replicate due to her air raid. And that's just something within her kit that is just ridiculous. It's something I don't like, honestly. I hated it at first. I was just like, why does she have a state to which you cannot burst. It does that type of damage, is able to be active swapped, and the character that she's playing with is free to do whatever they want. So like, I mean, if you're playing Chie, you could build power charge. If you're playing Akihiko, you get wind stacks. If you're playing 9, you could set up clock. It's like, I think that is stupid. Yeah, even beyond air raid, just her average damage is decent, but really why the opinion of the character has fallen down a bit, I think has come within the counterplay measures that are available to her now. Maybe Hilda has something to do with that, maybe she doesn't, but overall, definitely within like the 1v1 game, she becomes significantly less threatening. She's just kind of relying on snowbirds and overall mid dispensing to try to get things going. JC is there, and JC can be kind of funny, but JC is just JC at the end of the day. It's almost like I was saying with Batista Laser. It's like, ow, you got me, unless you have an assist going on with it or like a cross combo to activate from it. So yeah, I can see how like her strengths are definitely within her support potential and a lot of her frame data and approaching the game from a 2v2 unit type of mindset when she is on that Adachi Yumi comp, when she is on that 9 Yumi comp, when she is on that Yumi Susanoo comp, and you know, kind of the things that she's able to do there. But like, if you're watching Yumi win a 1v2 or like a 1v1, it was just a matter of like out neutraling, right? EX snowbird spam and resonance. Sure, it does some chip. Sure, it controls a lot of the screen, but what is it really doing? He's not the best in those departments. I wouldn't really like count that much as like her being dumb when she becomes advantageous in those situations. It's mostly due to outplay. But that's just the isolated case. If I did have to have a knock against the character at all, it would be that. That would be the reason why I would see a lot of people not really having her as like the top 1 anymore, due to that reliancy on the 2v2 game, and definitely on the 2v1. Like if you're fighting one of her like teams, some of the teams that I just mentioned, and like you have a character die, damn, I'm so sorry, because like the game might be over. It's really hard to make a comeback unless like, you know, there are those characters that do have like Hilda or like the 9 or Rachel that could potentially be troublesome for Yumi to kind of close out on due to the way that they play the game. But yeah, I mean, that's another part of Yumi that I feel like is worth mentioning that I don't even think I mentioned for Adachi much, and that I probably should have, is that she definitely isolates a lot of the cast in not being able to play the game that they want to play, which could suck. But yeah, she's solid. She's a character that I reluctantly play. I just gotta throw this out there, okay? Like on my 9 Yumi comp, I like 9, and I like how Yumi allows me to play 9. But like, I don't like Yumi. I like Yumi 5A, and that's it. I'm not actually a fan of Yumi. I just need to make that clear. All right, for Asia, they have Yumi at number 6. For EU, they have Yumi as number 1, which means like she was a perfect 5 across the board. In North America, probably the same, unless she's like 4.9. And then global, yeah. So she's actually just more undervalued in Asia, because I don't think she was a part of that perfect score 5.0 score. So that means that there was like at least one person in Asia that voted her as a 4. In North America, I'd have to go back to BBTAG's video. I don't know if Yumi was a part of that perfect score. I wouldn't be surprised if she was. But yeah, based off of everything I was saying earlier, if North America was able to rank order this, I don't think a lot of them would put Yumi as top 1. I think most people would put it as like Adachi. Okay, we have 2 more picks. So Yuzu, I put as a 3. However, I think she could be a 4. Like, it's just purely due to lack of representation. Her and Mitsuru fell off of everyone's pick list so hard within a 2.0 landscape. Like, they were running rampant within the 1.5 landscape, and then 2.0 happened, and it's like they just fell off the map both of them are still extremely solid characters. In the case of Yuzu, okay, whatever, 6P is not what it used to be. The freaking routes that she had previously are not available now, but I still think her overall damage output is good. Screen control potential is great, and I think her mobility with her teleports and everything and how that could be utilized to create sandwich situations is just something that people have just left the potential to be just done. Just like no one is pushing the character, and like I don't know why. I'm speaking from a purely North American standpoint, because one player, or I think I had two players if I'm not mistaken, that I have in mind from not America who play Hilda Yuzu. If I'm not mistaken, it's Jaju Kakuje from EU and Pizza Mayo from JP that play Hilda Yuzu. And that team is showing how Yuzu should be valued in a 2.0 meta. I get it. Mitsuru Yuzu is not what it's cracked up to be anymore because of the nerfs that happened. Although that team is still good, I do understand, like, the Yuzu changes that happened. She isn't what she once was, but that doesn't mean that she is all of a sudden bad. She is so underutilized, you know, utilizing the teleports and the screen control, like this like whole screen control game that's being played right now is something that I feel like she should be valued for more in. Unless I'm just insane, like I don't know. And like the Hilda Yuzu comp is just like a perfect example of that. It really almost reminds me of like a sibling of the 9 Jubei comp, right? Where you have 9 who is like the slow-paced zoner, able to put some stuff on the screen and utilize that with Jubei's quick mobility, seamless potential to create a sandwich, and you just have something that is quite a nuisance to fight because you have this cat that's in your face and this witch that's in the background that's creating havoc from like full screen and such, and the conversion potential is fantastic, and the overall team as a unit is fantastic, and they support each other very well. Hilda Yuzu, I feel like a sibling of that. They're kind of like a cut under, maybe, or maybe a cut above. I haven't really seen the full potential of it. I've never fought the team, but just based off what I've seen of the team, I feel like they could do a very similar thing. You have like Hilda, who has all this full screen control as a matter of her buttons and her specials and all that nonsense, and Yuzu, who is also able to establish some pretty good control on the ground through her 6P. And then also being able to have access to teleports as a matter of her Rekka series and her just overall teleport, her stance, and having Hilda support that, or characters like Hilda support that. There's just untapped potential there, and it's kind of a shame. I wish she got played a little bit more because I do think the character is cool. And I think she's just underutilized. I wish there was someone in NA that would invest in that Hilda Yuzu team, because I think we would be better for it. I think it's something that someone should actually push. Asia has Yuzu in like the 3.6-ish realm, which actually makes me feel bad. Maybe I should have just did the hot take and put Yuzu in 4. I'm kind of kicking myself now. That should have been my hot take. I should have put Yuzu in 4 and just set it and forget it. North America also has Yuzu in like a 3, or no, sorry, this is EU, which makes sense. EU has Yuzu close to like a 4 territory, and this is obviously due to Jaju Kakuje and any other Yuzu players that they may have. That's just the one that I remember off the top of my head that plays that Hilda Yuzu comp. North America has her pretty solidly at like a 3.5, which means like there are some players that probably rated her as a 4, but I don't know. I would like for the opinion to be more alongside of EU and Asia in a sense, because I think she's kind of undervalued here. And then you have Global that kind of aligns perfectly with the Asia opinion. But yeah, like, I get it. She's not the same, but similarly to Mitsuru, I don't know why that has led to such a massive fall off, because the character is still so great and I think should be pushed. So yeah, with that, all of my 1 section is complete. All of my 2 section is complete. All of my 3 section is complete. And all of my 4 section is complete. My 5 section is missing a link, and that link is Seth. Seth is 5. Seth is definitely 5. Seth, he has it all. Like he has the command throw, he has the orbs that allows for him to have like a displaced, like delayed projectile, which is extremely strong. In a 2v2 scenario, it's strong. In a 1v2 scenario, it's strong. In a 1v1 scenario, it's strong. It's just this thing that you get to place on the screen that your opponent has to interact with, has to think about. You know, if they're able to poke it out, great, but if they're poking it out, that means a telegraph maneuver that Seth can interact with, because Seth is free to move after he places the orb. And if you're just letting it happen, if you're just letting the orb come out, that means that you're going to be staying still, and that allows for Seth to get in. It's messed up. It's almost like he's calling an assist, and it doesn't cost any resources. Not to where we could cost resources if you use the EX version, which is even better because it throws out 3 of them. Like, it's so stupid. Don't let Seth players downplay this character, dude. He's so good. Damage is off the charts. 360 neutral skip. Of course, it's a thing. It's not a reason that I would put him in like top tier. I think just like what he offers to a team and some of his comps within this like game is, you know, superb. But if you just wanted to throw that in there, that is also a reason why he's like good. Just having that as a way to navigate across the ground just seamlessly, effortlessly. And if you get caught, you're taking a scaled or like an unscaled amount of damage, right? That is unburstable. And he can even call assist with it and then get a follow-up after that. He can be pretty hard to burst. There's just a lot of layers to his game. He also has that kind of like Yosuke approach to where he can play the game slow or he can play the game fast. There is that like dichotomy in his kit. And you're talking about the teams that he has. You got the teams like there's, you know, Seth Adachi, Hilda Seth, Seth Yosuke even works. Seth Akatsuki we have seen. He's good. He's so good. I feel like I haven't seen him in a while, but even like Seth Yumi is like a phenomenal team. Like he is just, I feel like he has such a solid hold on the meta at the moment as like a character that you do have to deal with, and like what he is able to do to the game is so prominent and is so messed up that you have to put him at 5. He's so good. Asia agrees. He's like up there, like 4.9 or 5. If it's not a 5. I think it actually is a 5. I can't remember. EU agrees. He's like 4.9. Up there. North America, I think he was a perfect 5. And global, he's one of the best characters in the game. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's so good. But yeah, this rounds out my list. So this is, as it is, what I did when I filled out this survey. Let me see when I actually filled out this survey. So yeah, I filled out the survey on October 16th. I think there were some misses here. Merkava, as I said, I would move up to 3 personally. Looking at it, I feel like Yosuke should probably be up here. However, if I'm putting Yosuke up there, then I should probably have Ragna up there as well. Does that make the most sense? I don't know. Naoto Shirogane is also kind of with them. Hakumen is also a character that I'm looking at kind of weird. These 4 out of the 3 tier, I say, are like not really benefiting from this format and giving the clearest idea of where I should have them. I could go and like rank order them within like what I have on this format here, but I feel like if I were to do that, I should actually just create a tier list if I were going to go through the trouble of that. And I don't want to create a tier list. No. This is the closest to tier list content you will ever get from me. And the biggest reason why I wanted to make this video and why I'm willing to make a video of this kind is because of the format that BoJack created here. It's interesting seeing like regional differences in opinion of like characters and trying to figure out why that is the case. You know, you see some of the more polarizing characters like Hilda and like Neapolitan and all these different characters. I mean, even like Carmine is actually kind of really polarizing if you look at it. I mean, Asia does not have Carmine within the S tier. It's in the A tier. That means there's like a good majority of people that voted him as a 4 or 3. EU has them more solid as a 4.0, which means there weren't a lot of people that voted them as a 5. Whereas for North America, he's one of our leading characters in the meta because, like, of course he is, right? seeing those regional differences and discussing them and trying to dissect them and all that type of stuff is very interesting. And it really kind of shapes the viewing experience when I do watch these international tournaments and seeing like, okay, so this is how they feel about Rachel, huh? Or like, huh, this is how they feel about Hilda. It's just like, why, right? My dogs are pretty interested in that as well. They want to know the answer. So that's all that I have for this video. I didn't really have a script for this or anything. I just kind of wanted to go through it and share my thoughts since I was a part of the process of formulating the NA list, and I wanted to give a little bit of my point of view and some context as to why it may have ended up that way, why I voted the way that I did, and seeing how it stacked up against other regions' opinions. So if you enjoyed it, you know, let me know. If you want to say that my voting is awful and I was holding NA back from having the best opinion, you can let me know of that as well. I honestly don't care. But this was fun. Shout out to BBTAG for having me be a part of this. Shout out to BBTAG also for having South America be a part of this. You know, I was able to connect with Myth, and Myth was able to do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as like getting the survey out to South American players and having their input be present within this list as well, which I think is super cool. You know, really kind of gives us a global perspective of what this is supposed to be, of like a global list and everything, having all the regions possible kind of like present within this. So yeah, play BBTAG. All right, fine. I'll order my list since every other region ordered their list.